social justice literature for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, it's like someone just send you the Communist Manifesto. It's like, here you go, surprise.
Why would you do that?
I love gifts.
Think we haven't noticed that you hit the live button?
Well, only you do it, fucking dick. Anyway, start the show. Y'all are infidels. We're burning witches tonight. Not even Smoking the Bear is going to be able to save your ancestors this time, you stupid moron.
Someone in the comments picked him with a Band-Aid. That was good. I'm sorry, that was fucking good. Anyways.
Well, that's my job as a woman, I think, first and foremost. And then as a writer, I got to maintain some level of like, making sure that you're in a good place.
Everything that they've done since claiming the PS5 is for hardcore gamers. It's just simply appeal to the casuals.
That's about it. Follow me on Twitter. Preserve film, just like preserving video games. I don't know.
Hunter! What's up? In the White House? Seriously?
well, Marvel and what Stan Lee, I think, I don't know if it was genius or laziness. It's like, we'll just put them all in one city. We won't even make up a fictionalist and we'll just use new.
Here the night we got coming up for tomorrow.
I'm perfectly sober.
Lies.
Thank you.
Are you home? Do you have children? Must not you be their hope? Are there future generations from all of us who have failed them?
And the mom shaming, a term typically used to highlight harsh judgment of birthing people.
Who wrote this shit? Who wrote this shit?
Normally I start the show with like a quirky intro, but like half you guys look half dead. Like, what the hell's going on with the energy this week? Like, you think that, all the things that have happened this week, like Nintendo suing people again, WWE has a new deal, the Oscar nominations are out. You guys are just like schlubbing along over here. Like, it's just, I'm glad to be here. It's like, look at me and my cat. And it's like, look at me, it's so pretty. And then I got this guy over here just lounging on his couch halfway during the stream. And then I got this guy doesn't even know how half his equipment works over there. Is that a Joker Funko Pop behind you here?
Bobblehead.
Bobblehead. Bobblehead. Okay, well, that's a little bit more respectable. Then there's just this guy who's just
nothing.
I don't even. This is my show. This is the show that I put on every single. Hey everybody, it's the Welcome to the Barroom Podcast. This is episode 33, 83. They all blend together after a while, but we're here for another episode. We got a great group of cast joining us here tonight. We have a whole bunch of topics to get through. So as we just did the Rolodex here, Nerdigans is here. How you doing, Nerdigans?
I'm tired and dealing with a lot of crap in terms of localization wars and all that. But
Nerdigans, let me ask you just an honest question here. It's not even in a bit. Has there ever been a day in your life how you not dealt with crap? Like, has there just not been one day? I mean, you're Jewish. Like you're Jewish, aren't you? Like, by law entitled to like a day of rest. Like,
no, it's been like this. My life has been chaotic for, let's see, probably at least 10 years, maybe 20 years now. It's been like this for a long time,
At
unfortunately.
least it's interesting.
No, it's there's some good days, but it's mostly ever since I lost everything. It's been interesting in the worst way.
It's an ancient Chinese curse. May you live an interesting life, or may you live
My
in interesting
30s
times.
are the
Rather,
worst. No, my 30s are the worst interesting life, unfortunately.
Then jumping over there somewhere in Buffalo, I think is Orange Hat. How you doing there, Orange?
Buffalo. Oh,
upstate New
way
York,
north.
whatever.
Yeah, it's the
Upstate New
same
York.
thing.
I'm not in fucking West New York.
Elf country.
I don't know, somewhere in New York where you guys jump through flaming tables. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing.
I mean, it could, but it's kind of like very cold winter here right now.
I love it when
toasty.
I love it when they
Go
jump
ahead.
through plastic tables and then set themselves on fire. That's always the best part of the entire bit. But
Oh, those are hillbillies. Those aren't us, man. We're mountain
other
folk.
side.
There's a difference between hillbillies and mountain folk. The
There's
hillbillies
different-
all live in the Appalachians, or yeah,
There's a difference between them and Vermont.
very different. Yeah,
Well, there's also a difference between Bills fans and Eagles fans, and yeah, Eagles fans, you need to step up your game because man, the Bills are totally
Eagles fans are too busy stealing from Walmart to step up the game.
and the fucking Bills fans are too busy crying their eyes out.
Good old Bills fans. Gentleman who's not a Bills fan is our good buddy Rob Motto. How you doing there, Rob?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm actually taking less drugs than I usually do, so
That's always
very
improvement.
Well, that's
very
always good.
happy with that. But no, I'm good. I've got my stuff set up for live streaming and podcasting now, so don't really have any excuses. So I'll be putting out a lot more stuff on YouTube, Twitter, wherever.
Ah, nice. You have to link that up. You finally have something to promote now, so that's great. And then our good buddy Eddie Brock here is look, I want to hate the San Francisco 49ers just because I don't think anything good should ever happen to the city of San Francisco, but I got to admit I do kind of like Brock Purdy, which is why it sucks that he plays for the Niners, but how you feeling, Eddie?
Man, the best part about the Niners is that first off, they're the only good thing about this city, and they're not even in the city anymore. But second, like half of the crew is MAGA. Brock Purdy's MAGA.
Bosa
is fucking MAGA. Debo slips his tootsies in it every once in a while. I wasn't that hard on GBG because he was somewhat MAGA.
It's like it would make more sense if we were talking about the Raiders, right? Because they would have more of that mindset and mentality. But it's like this, the Niners. It's like, how do you have such a dichotomy there with like the team in the city?
That's why we have it's if we actively went out of our way and just changed the way we thought around here, we'd be the greatest city in the world again. So that's all it is. It's all the fentanyl that fucking ruins everybody's heads.
Well, it's also the judges, but that's a whole different story.
I mean, it's funny that Dirty Harry came out in 1971, and it I don't want to say it predicted because the 70s was a shit show on by itself, but it's almost like since that era, that city has just gone downhill. Like San Francisco, how it's historically is one of my absolute favorite cities, but it's an unlivable place for anybody who's part of the middle class or trying to make an honest living.
Yeah.
It's speaking of the 70s, it's kind of like with New York City, it's reverted back to the 70s.
All I'm hoping for is that just like the Super Bowl win from the 80s that turned a dynasty over and actually made us start winning again over and over and over again and actually made the city better. I hope that we win this year and people finally realize everyone's turning around over here too. They're starting to realize all the politicians down here suck too.
Well,
so,
the DA
come on.
The DA got recalled, and the new DA is actually doing her job. It's just
she's doing a pretty decent job.
Being dumbasses. That's the problem.
Right. We're essentially just pushing against the tide down here. But
I mean, that's San Francisco's problem. Someone born and raised in San Diego, I just wish that my city would return back to prominence. But then again, it's going back the other way too, and that has mostly to do with the fact that San Diego's become a hub for like every other like liberal red state's trash just comes to San Diego and thinks like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna live by the beach, and oh I can't afford anything, let me just buy a 2-bedroom apartment with 8 roommates, and this is how I'm gonna live for the rest of my adult life. It's like, yeah, okay, that's great.
Well, no, you're dealing with LA refugees too, because LA can't, for some reason, San Francisco can recall their DA, but LA is stupid and can't. I don't understand it. Oh, I mean,
it's called years of corruption, Nergens.
I mean, San Francisco's full of corruption and they did it, and Oakland's working on getting their recall stuff going for their shitty DA.
To be fair, though,
LA can do it. It's insane.
Yeah, in San Francisco, to be fair, it actually took like people getting beaten up on the streets and stabbed and things to actually turn that around. So,
It's not happening in Oakland. If and the In-N-Out is closing, that should be a final push.
Oh my god!
I'll be clear here.
In-N-Out too.
In-N-Out for years have been looking for an excuse to get out of that city, and they gave them one. Let's be very clear about that. They've been trying to get out for a while.
Yeah, I can imagine so. But at least they're only like there's another In-N-Out like 3-4 miles up the road in Berkeley, so it's okay.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not even remotely close to it, and I think the closest In-N-Out from my location is like Texas. Like that's how far away I am from In-N-Out Burger. So, we're joining into our chat right now. We got people joining us on YouTube. We got people joining us on Rumble and on X right now. So we have a good buddy Neozoic with a good question for us. Which movie adaptation of Moses in the Book of Exodus would you rather watch, The 10 Commandments or The Prince of Egypt? The 10 Commandments for me is probably one of the best movies ever. So I'm going to go with the 10 Commandments for me personally. I don't know about you guys. Which one you rather go with?
I grew up watching both movies because I'm a Jew, obviously. So, but one of my favorite, one of the memories I had growing up was when my family took me to see Prince of Egypt in theaters. And it was just so mind-blowing watching it. And then I remember right after my parents took me, I can't remember what store it was, but we went to the store right after and we picked up the soundtrack because I was so excited because I heard like Hebrew songs that I grew up, singing in synagogue and stuff like that. So it's a very sentimental thing for me. So that's why I love, and also the animation is freaking mind blowing. Oh my God, it's so good. It's like perfection. So good. I'm gonna watch it again now. Since I watched it.
I haven't seen either movie actually. I definitely want to check out the 10 Commandments just because it's a classic. It's a classic movie, and Rick fucking posts that stupid GIF of Charlton Heston. Like,
wait! You haven't watched the 10 Commandments?
No, I've seen Ben-Hur. I've seen a lot of the like. I still have to see King of Kings. The Greatest Story Ever Told. I mean, there's a lot of like biblical applications. Applications. I can't even talk
adaptations.
Tonight. Adaptations. Thank you very much. That I need to see. I know.
You're a cinephile. How have you not watched the 10 Commandments? I'm just like mind blown.
You must have killed more men than Cecil B. DeMille. Yeah, we're blazing.
He works during Easter. That's why.
I've never seen either of them either. I'm not really a person that watches religious movies.
I'm not either, but again, maybe it's because I'm
look at all these heathens. all
as amazing as both of these films are, the 10 Commandments are arguably one of my favorite Charlton Heston films, and Yul Brynner is unbelievable as the prince. And of course, the Prince of Egypt, that wonderful animated beginning, it's like really brings you into the whole moment and everything. Sadly, though, I'm going to have to go with the episode "The Passover" by the Rugrats. When Tommy Pickles and Chucky came together and started, trying to let all the babies cross the Jordan River and all the Dead Sea and all that, I really felt it right there. Especially when Tommy Pickles was like holding up and his diaper kept falling off. So you had to keep pulling it up and down over and over again.
I got to say this, though. Outside of the one episode that still strikes me with Rugrats was the football episode where they were watching like the Oilers and the Cowboys and they were just like making a mess of the whole front room.
That was the first one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The Rugrat show out of all the Nicktoons to me holds up the worst out of all the other ones. Like I can go back and still watch Hey Arnold and still be entertained. I can still watch Rocko's Modern Life and still be entertained. All Road Monsters is kind of hit and miss depending on the episode. Doug is still great, but Rugrats to me, it's like, oh, there's no. This one's meant for like little kids, and once you grow up, it's like, yeah, it doesn't hit the same way.
It depends on which episode you watch for Rugrats. It's hit or miss.
Yeah. Like I said, I remember there's a few of them that I liked, but outside of that, it's just like, I didn't really care too much for it. And then bonus question for Neo here, real quick: which bad film is so bad? I'm sorry, which bad film, as in so bad is good, would you rather watch? Planet 9 from Outer Space or The Room? Now I know this isn't one of the two options here, but I just want to make a quick little example here. I brought this up to Rob a while ago. Remember the movie Wish Upon with Joey King that came out like in 2017, like a few years ago? I got an exclusive screening for that film several years ago. And keep in mind, it's supposed to be a horror film. Like, it's supposed to be just a straight up horror film. That movie is so bad. Literally everyone in the entire theater was laughing throughout 2/3 of the movie. We turned it into a comedy, even though it was supposed to be a horror film. So that's one of the best examples for me for so bad is actually good. Because otherwise, you have to watch that film as a comedy in order to enjoy it on any level. But what do you guys think here?
Haven't seen either.
Oh my gosh. Neither of them?
Mm-hmm.
My gosh. I go with The Room just because Plan 9 from Outer Space was just like a real 50s campy sci-fi trope, right? But The Room is just completely, it goes nowhere quick and it tries to make you stay around and you don't want to because you don't know anyone at the party. And this guy keeps constantly wants to have sex with his girlfriend all the time in the corner. It's not that great of a party if you want to be there with The Room.
What was the James Franco like movie about him making The Room? Like that came out. It was like the last time that Hollywood had their arms around James Franco, but he was in. Yeah, he played Tommy Wiseau in The Disaster Artist. Something
Disaster Artist.
Yeah.
Is that what it was called? Okay, yeah, because I like that pretty much, but I never saw The Room. And
put that on the list.
Yeah, and
That's
good, but good for
terrible
Tommy
movie.
Wiseau for like doing it. But just I've heard horror stories about that movie.
But like cheesy,
That's
like
another
50s
San Francisco
movies,
favorite.
But like cheesy 50s movies that are so bad, so good, like those are just fun, and you could just have a good time because they're so campy and fun. But like The Room is just bad. You can't have fun watching it.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa. Hi, doggy.
Good.
How are you?
There's plenty of bad like comedies that I like. Like they're not good movies, but like you know what I mean. And so it's like there's this really terrible movie by David Cross and Bob Odenkirk. Yes, the guy that was in Better Call Saul years later called Run, Ronnie, Run. That was based off their Mr. Show characters. And it was a disaster from start to finish. And yet I own that movie on digital because it makes me laugh my ass off.
There you go.
Dude Nukem's here says, guess the reference. You two clean this mess up or you're fired. Right, you guys are just
Spider-Man 2?
My mom.
Sounds like a comedy, but I can't place it. So
absolute movie bums here tonight. Vanya's here joining us here tonight.
I just spent 4 years in the Academy of Art for it. It's not like I actually have to pay attention, right?
Doba Fett's here. Duke has a question. Which restaurant has the worst service? Wherever one is in a black neighborhood, that's the one that has the worst service. There's the answer to your question.
Not Church's Chicken.
Church's Chicken.
No, I mean, if you go to a Popeyes in a black neighborhood, you're in for a rough night. I mean, this is gonna be a shit show. Who else we got here? Dante's here at the moment. We got JEC here joining us. Spencer saying that he will pick Prince of Egypt forever. Who else do we got here? From the regular show. Yeah, I hope people will keep mentioning the regular show.
Okay, yeah, I could see it. I can see Benson screaming that, yeah.
Okay. Like I said, you're talking to someone who gave up on watching Cartoon Network, like I think even before Toonami. Like I think like Dragon Ball Z might have been like the last thing I actually watched on there. And that was like late 90s, so it's like everything after that is like a blur to me. So yeah, I have no reference to any of that. So, like I said, we're here on all three platforms at the moment, and I guess we're gonna go ahead and start this one hot with some pro wrestling news because WWE for the last several months has been looking for a new home for Monday Night Raw after it was announced several months ago that NBC, aka Comcast, was not going to renew their deal with Raw, meaning that they were essentially free up to find a new network, and they have to find one quick because time is going on. And they found a new network. Well, I guess they found a new platform. I can't really call it a network because they're moving to Netflix. WWE is officially moving the show that has been on cable television for well over 30 years now. It's moving to streaming where they can hide all of their streaming views, but that's the conversation. WWE and Netflix announced the deal earlier today to move WWE Raw to Netflix that will pay them $500 million a year for a show that has been averaging 1.6 million viewers for the last several years, and Netflix is shelling out $500 million a year. This is absolutely insane to me. In a major shakeup, WWE struck a deal with Netflix to see its flagship pro wrestling show that's been on since 1993, exclusively on the streaming giant beginning of January of 2025. So 1 year from now, they will be on Netflix exclusively. They will make the first time in 3 decades that the show has not aired on a linear cable network. The deal is valued at $500 million for 10 years. However, Netflix has an opt-out after an initial 5-year deal, which means that essentially after 5 years, if Netflix feels like that they're not getting any value from it, they can pull the plug, but not until that 5 years is up. However, they also have an option to renew after 5 years. If they choose to renew it, it will be a 10-year deal. So WWE's current U.S. Rights is with NBC Universal, which is approximately from 250 to 260 million a year. So this is basically doubling what they got from NBC just for Raw alone. They said they're excited to have WWE Raw and this huge, passionate, multi-generational fan base on Netflix. By combining our reach, recommendations, and fandoms of WWE, we'll be able to deliver more joy and value for their audience and their members. Keep in mind, this is literally the exact same thing that Fox said 5 years ago when they announced that SmackDown was going to Fox, and within 5 years they ended up not renewing their deal with SmackDown. So we have heard this before. The current deal with Raw is supposed to end in October of this year. So there's talks about right now that there's going to be at least a 2-month period where Raw won't have a television deal in between where the NBC one ends and the Netflix one begins. They haven't decided exactly what they're going to do between that dead period yet. Apparently, this is also going to make Raw the exclusive home. I'm sorry, Netflix the exclusive home of Raw in the UK, Canada, and Latin America as the deal gets solidified here. So on top of this deal announcement, you had the announcement that The Rock has now joined the board of directors for TKO, which is the mix of the WWE and the UFC. So now he's going to have some pool in the corporate office for WWE moving forward as a result of this as well. So here we are. WWE found another way to get more money with a show that has been dying from viewers for several years now. Quick little, I guess, history lesson here over the last few years. 5 years ago, they announced that WWE SmackDown was going to Fox. It was $1 billion deal at the time. When they had Fox, it was like, well, now we're on one of the top overall networks, like Fox, ABC, those type of networks. And they figured that, hey, we're going to be advertising WWE during the Super Bowl, during the World Series. It's like, we're going to get at least 3.5 to 4 million viewers every single week, right? They ended up averaging roughly about 2.2 million viewers during their entire run at Fox. Fox was unhappy. They regretted paying WWE $200 million a year for that deal. They decided not to renew. As a result of that, NBC said that, okay, we'll take SmackDown, but we're not taking NXT and Raw. You're going to have to find some other deal for these two shows. We're only taking one of your shows. So NXT got moved to the CW because the CW's in the middle of a rebrand right now. And for the last several months, they've been trying to ship Raw to all of these networks. Apparently, they didn't get very far with anyone. They met with Jeff Bezos trying to go on Amazon Prime. That deal fell through. They met with NBC Universal trying to get a renewal. That didn't work out. They met with... excuse me. They met with... what's the other network that they were talked to not too long ago? Warner Brothers Discovery. They met with TNT and TBS as well, especially after CM Punk went back to WWE. They tried to get that deal to work out. That deal didn't fall out from either. So with all their television options essentially pulled from the table, especially since Disney doesn't have any money anyway, they decided that the only thing we're going to save this thing is with streaming service. So they decide, okay, let's move our show to streaming. Let's go to Netflix. And now this is going to be the exclusive home of WWE. So there's still a whole bunch of questions here about how this is going to work out. Is it still going to be a 3-hour show? Is it going to be a live show? Are they going to have commercials? You know, what is the structure of the business of WWE going to change as a result of this? So there's still a whole bunch of unanswered questions. We'll talk a little bit more about the actual details of this whole thing here in a second. But Eddie, I'll start this one off with you. WWE found another sucker, and after failing with 2 other television deals, they found somebody else to give them the false promises. Oh yeah, we'll totally bring subscribers to Netflix, because you know that's what WWE's audience is known for doing. What do you think about this new deal here with Netflix bringing $500 million a year to the WWE?
I think that WWE knows how to work the marks and knows how to get the checks. And thank goodness for Vince and Shane, and well, maybe not so much Shane, but Vince and H and everybody else to make this great deal with Netflix. I'm totally being facetious. And just to completely make it so that WWE is coming to streaming. Honestly, though, I think it might be a diamond in the rough kind of a situation. You know, a little Aladdin kind of a thing, where in making it a streaming service, we don't know if it's going to be live anymore. We don't know if all these people are going to, you know, we're going to get a live audience anymore. And we might start bringing back studio wrestling with this pre-recorded kind of show. And maybe in a pre-recorded show, you could do a lot more with stuff. And, you know, it worked. You know what? A really good example of this, and that really worked it really well, was Lucha Underground. They did a really good job doing streaming and everything else, and they weren't live everything. They made their entire show right as an episodic thing, and then did shows in between to push the show. So maybe they'll do something like that. The live events certainly aren't selling nearly as much as they used to. And they can't go to Australia and India to sell tickets anymore, Saudi Arabia every week to go and sell tickets. So I'm glad that they're getting a check. Good for them. Any kind of wrestling, if AEW did the same thing, I'd say good for them. The way the boys get money, good God.
Yeah. And so, like I said, some of the details here, like I said, there's a 5-year opt-out. So I've been working the numbers here. I'm trying to think, okay, how are they going to justify $500 million a year for Raw? Because with the audience Raw currently has now, there's only about 1.6 million people weekly who tune into USA every Monday night to watch Raw for 3 hours. That's the number that they're going with. I guess the belief here is that if they move to Netflix, then with the 120 million people who have Netflix, that somehow WWE is going to bring new people to watch WWE Raw, that is going to grow its subscriber base. Well, here's a couple of problems. One, now you had, like I said, WWE was on cable for the large period of time. Now people are going to have to pay $17 to $25 a month just to watch Raw on Netflix. So unless you already have a Netflix account, that's going to be a tough ask to watch for someone to sit through 3 hours of a wrestling show that hasn't really been that good for the last decade and a half to begin with. So that's going to be a tough sell there. The second thing is, just because you have these people who have Netflix already doesn't mean that they're going to be drawn in to watch wrestling. We saw this with Fox. Fox thought that, hey, you know, we get to mingle with the Super Bowl crowd and the World Series crowd and all these big sporting events, and we're going to promote WWE through these events. You had 126 million people watching the Super Bowl. You advertised SmackDown during the Super Bowl. You still had the same 2 million people watching every single week. So that didn't bring anyone in either. So even if, let's just give them a raw number here. Let's say that it's about 2 million people come over to watch Netflix. So let's assume that 2 million people are going to buy Netflix now just to watch WWE. In a yearly subscription, that's only going to bring in roughly about $400 million, which means that just based on that number alone, you're still at about $100 million loss based on what you're paying WWE. And that's just assuming that those are people you're actually going to bring in. So how is Netflix going to make any money off this deal? I just don't see it working out from their perspective.
They're raising the rates. for one thing, but also you got to keep in mind that you're not including, in terms of viewers, you're not including the people that are sailing the high seas. And something that I've been seeing is that a lot of people were saying that they were happy WWE was going to Netflix because they already had a Netflix account and they were pirating, and now they don't have to pirate anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing about the Peacock thing with the NFL.
Because they were pirating.
Yeah, they all started pirating that thing. So
yeah, and I wonder how much that plays into it, because you know the NFL loves those Monday morning ratings things, but it's like, I wonder how much of that is, if they can calculate in this many people were watching. We don't know if it was legit, but this many people were watching, and it's like, I guess they can toot their own horn and sort of push that inevitability off. But Netflix has been going down this road for some time. Most of the streamers have as well. Once they got into the business of streaming, it's like, oh shit, this is not sustainable. Like, the only way we're going to succeed is when the other guys fail. You know what I mean? And then it's only, that success is still only temporary until the whole thing comes crashing down. So look, the thing I actually like about Peacock is all the old wrestling pay-per-views and matches, and like, that is the only thing tying me to the world of wrestling anymore. I fully plan on coming to the Royal Rumble stream on Saturday, and I'm sure it'll be fine or whatever, but there's a reason I stopped watching literally 21 years ago, when John Cena came on the scene, and I was just like, yeah, that guy's a joke. I'm done. So, and whatever, I was losing interest anyway, but it seems like it's a dying business, and I'm kind of surprised it hasn't, considering where wrestling started, that it was this regional thing, all completely, separated from each other. I know it's not all nostalgia. I know that things weren't perfect. I know it's a brutal industry in terms of the longevity of life, injuries, all those things. But like, the old world of like the NWA and the WWF was really special. And it's a shame what it's turned into. And I say that again, being barely aware of the goings on. I just, I see headlines, I hear from you guys week to week what's going on. But yeah, I don't think this is a good option. And Netflix, here's the thing. Netflix is not like HBO Max. They don't have a library of things that people know them by. They've got Seinfeld, they've got Friends, and I guess now they have the WWF. And you see these little things like the NFL quarterback documentary, and like they're trying to make gains in these little places, and I don't think it's going to work. They are the longest running streamer, and their business model doesn't seem like it's feasible. So I don't think it's going to work out.
Just like 21 years ago, the thugonomics just don't work out.
Well, I do want to point out as well, before I forget, something that like Amazon Prime is doing with NFL, and YouTube is doing it too. But what Amazon Prime does with NFL on like Thursday nights, what they do is they live stream it on both Prime Video and on Twitch. I feel like what WWE is going to do is for obviously for like Royal Rumble and stuff like that. But I think for Raw and for SmackDown, they're probably going to have like a live stream kind of thing on Netflix. That to me would make the most sense. And they're going to try and emulate what Amazon Prime is doing.
Well, here's the other problem too, because like I said, they were trying to get in with Amazon Prime. Like Triple H, Nick Khan, and a few other executives met with Jeff Bezos on a couple of occasions trying to get on Prime. And the reason for that is Amazon Prime is one of the few streaming services that has live TV capabilities, like Amazon Prime, Apple TV, and I think that maybe another one, DAZN, is also another big one too that has live streaming capabilities, so they can do shows live and still be on a streaming service. I'm assuming Amazon
TV.
Yeah, I'm assuming Amazon said no, which is why they have to go with Netflix. Netflix doesn't have a live TV capability. I believe the only live presence that they've had up to this point is that Chris Rock did a comedy special that was supposedly live maybe like a year or two ago. But that's really like the only thing. Like, they're not known for being able to broadcast live on their site, which means that WWE is going to have to change their entire essentially presentation and model with these shows moving forward now. Because it's like what they do is they travel from a new city week to week. But if you're on a streaming service, does that mean that it's going to be broadcast live on Netflix? Like Netflix is going to show Raw live now, or is it going to be like a day later, a couple of days later? If it's going to be later now, does that mean that they record these shows beforehand and then just shoot it off to Netflix to see what they can do? It's like there's a lot of unanswered questions about this deal. It's like the money sounds great for WWE right now, but there's a whole bunch of things between now and next year that they're going to have to figure out before moving forward.
Also, Netflix
honestly,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
If you think about it, they might actually increase their ticket sales or their ticket prices for the live events because Netflix isn't known for doing live events like that. So they might actually have to raise the demand, or the demand is going to be raised, and so is the supply and whatnot. They're going to have higher prices for tickets to go see wrestling, which not a lot of people are going to be able to afford anymore because, well, ticket sales are actually declining all over. If you look it up, you see concert venues and other stuff starting to decline unless you actually have a lot of money saved up to go and pay for them. And considering how cheap Netflix has been, yes, they acknowledge that they've been, or that they're going to start focusing on quality now over quantity. It's like, yeah, but you are taking on something that requires a change to your venue. If you're not willing to change your venue, or the way you do things, you're going to actually have to increase ticket sales because or you're going to have to find a way to increase ticket sales because people are going to be like, well, if I could just watch it on Netflix, why the fuck would I even want to go to or go around the world or go around the country to watch them?
Well, here's the thing. Netflix was $8 a month. I remember getting Netflix streaming in 2011 on my PS3. It was $8 a month. I was like, this is great. This is fantastic. And at the time it was good movies. They had a relationship with Stars, so they had good TV, good movies, along with like older, just good movies you wanted to watch, you wanted to stream. It is not, and Nerdigan's I think said something along these lines. Netflix announced they're going to raise their prices again after they just raised them already, like last year. So we're talking about a $25 a month, $24 a month,
and they might be getting rid of their ads, or the lower ad tier, I believe. I can't remember.
Yeah. So
for streaming service, it's ridiculous.
Just real quick here. So right now, Netflix has 3 essentially streaming tiers for their service right now. They have the standard with ads, which is $7 a month, but they're talking about they're possibly getting rid of that one. So that means you'll have your standard one, which is $15.50 a month at the moment, which they say they're going to go up. And then you have your premium service, which is $23 a month. So by the time WWE actually is on Netflix by next year, you're looking at about $25 a month for the premium service and roughly $17 a month for the standard service when it's all said and done.
Might as well pirate.
And what I heard from a lot of people and a lot of wrestling fans is like, look, I'm not paying $20 a month just to watch Raw. Like Raw is something that I barely put up with on cable, and now you want me to pay an additional $20 a month to watch 3 hours of a wrestling show that isn't even that good to begin with. And keep in mind, they only have, this is the thing that kills me, I don't know how they did the calculation here. They only have 1.6 million people watching this show here in the United States every week. So how much more people do you think are going to come in? They have to think that, maybe overseas they're going to bring more numbers based on this deal. It can't be from the United States of America here.
I think they're just I think Netflix really just Netflix just bought the library. Like Netflix is wanting to, they're saying quality over quantity. Well, I mean, the quality of the WWE is insurmountable. It's over 40 years of entertainment given to you, and it's all weekly. It's all episodic. It's all, it's tailor-made for something like a streaming service or whatever. I think that's the reason why so many people pay so much money for it, The only positive thing I can think about this whole Netflix thing is, hey, maybe they'll start showing the shows unedited again. And maybe
That's
Netflix.
True. That is true, because you're getting Raw, you're getting SmackDown, you're getting NXT, and then you're getting all the pay-per-view stuff. And because you don't have to deal with the broadcast regulations, you can actually probably go uncut, go unedited,
Yeah.
And that right there is your sales pitch.
That might be
to
the
get,
excuse.
subscribers is to pay more for unedited, uncut.
Yeah. And I know that like it's not celebrated among the wrestling fans on this show. Look, I love ECW. I know it's very sloppy and like over the top, but that's exactly like the kind of stuff where it's like it's unedited, uncensored, whatever. Like I still remember like ordering videos out of a fucking catalog. So I mean, that's look.
Your packages were being put together by, just so you know, your packages were being put together by Taz and Bubba Ray Dudley.
Yep.
So there you go.
There you go.
But yeah, I think there's got to be Netflix's sales pitch and also Triple H's sales pitch. They just got to be like, yeah, we don't have to deal with these broadcast regulations no more. We're not Vince is gone. We're gonna bring back the old school wrestling and maybe even go more brutal because we gotta compete with UFC and UFC is brutal. We gotta bring more people to Netflix. Let's go balls out, balls to the wall. Let's just go for it at this point.
Well, shit, Bret Michaels and Triple H already did that like 20 years ago, balls out and all that. But the thing is, it's actually
Shawn Michaels?
Bret Michaels.
Yeah, that one. But anyway,
every rose
Poison.
has its
I know.
thorn.
I like Poison too. It's okay.
But anyway, it's actually a pretty genius idea or in a positive to bring Netflix because as Eddie said, it's episodic. It's also incredibly binge worthy.
Yeah.
They will have, or that's going to spike or that's definitely going to boost or spike or whatever you guys say nowadays, their views and whatnot. Because I think it's like the first 30 seconds or the first 15 seconds, and it counts as a view.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's like, oh shit, I didn't mean to click on this. Oh fuck. Well, you just gave them a view anyway.
And Orange, you actually bring up a great point because another reason why they've been desperate to move to streaming is because if you look at just their television ratings, you can tell that viewership has absolutely cratered, especially over the last 10 years. It's gotten really bad. But if they move to a streaming service, there's not going to be like a Nielsen like weekly rating like you would normally get from like a cable network. So they can fudge the hell out of their numbers on Raw now.
No, they're not even part of the WGA or the SAG, so they don't have that connection with Netflix. Netflix doesn't have to release any of that data that comes in for the WWE.
Or they can just be like, oh, 16 million people watched Raw over the course of like the week. And then it's like, there's no way to verify it. They can just go out there and say it. Now, all of a sudden they're telling people, oh, 16 million people are watching Raw now after only had like 1.5 for like the last like 5 years.
We're going to get Shivani facts for the rest of the life.
People are still able to track how many subscribers they lose, though. I've seen that shit reported on.
Yeah. And obviously there's going to be, when this whole thing starts, there's going to be a sense of how many subscribers that they're actually bringing in. This is why they built in that contract that they got like a 5-year out, because it's like Netflix they can like kayfabe everyone like in the public all they want, but they're gonna know internally whether WWE is actually bringing in subscribers, whether this whole thing is profitable or not to begin with. And like I said, they're gonna have to bring in way more than 2 billion people in order for this to even be feasible. They're probably gonna have to bring up at least 3 million to make it at least somewhat kind of a break even. Probably need even more than that. But like I said, they didn't do it with Fox. I don't think they did it with NBC, because if that was the case, they would have brought them in. So like I said, everyone keeps expecting WWE to grow their audience on all these different networks, and it's just simply not happening. So the other story here, just real quick before we move on to our next one, is that The Rock is now on the board of directors for WWE, so he's now going to be more involved with WWE moving forward. There's already talks about him having a match with Roman Reigns, either at WrestleMania, maybe one of the Saudi shows or whatnot. He got the official name right of The Rock back from WWE as well, so now he can refer to himself as The Rock outside of WWE. So I guess he played the long con as far as that one went. But this is what you have going on here. This is going to be the future of WWE, but there's going to be a lot of questions about this. So for short term, it looks great because it looks like they got the bag and they're made out like a bunch of bandits. But now, like I said, you got to perform. And I don't know why these networks don't like talk to one another. It's like, hey, you just gave WWE $1 billion 5 years ago. How'd that work out for you? Oh, not well. It's like, I probably shouldn't do the same thing. You know what? I'm gonna give them $5 billion for the next 5 years because that's how we roll over here. It's like I don't understand how corporate America works anymore. I thought people have to be smart to be in these positions, but apparently not.
Nope.
All right, buddy Rick here is joining us. How you going, Rick?
Rick.
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
All right, then. Well,
who the hell is watching Game of Thrones recently?
Who knows? Let's go ahead and jump over to another story here.
They're just blasphemers. They're
Only for the
blasphemers and idolaters.
Only for the Taiwan episodes.
Yeah. Let's jump over here to the UFC, the other side of this TKO media conglomerate that we got here, because Sean Strickland got himself in trouble again over the weekend. People were asking all these questions over the last couple of weeks about why is Sean Strickland allowed to say these things about people that we're protecting? Why is he allowed to just go up there and say things that we don't approve of? So Sean Strickland just had a big MMA fight over the weekend. He fought for the middleweight championship. He lost due to split decision, even though a lot of people believe he actually won that fight, but he lost on the judge's car. It's split eye. But like I said, he had a big fight there. He was in Canada. This fight was in Canada. So a lot of the Canadian media was like, well, you said some not so good things about the LGBTQ community. So how do you feel about that? Why are you allowed to say these things? And he called them out. And this is the video here of Sean Strickland basically putting this Canadian reporter in his place where he tried to railroad him with questions about the gay community here.
We've got a pretty supportive gay and lesbian community in this city. I did want to ask you about something you wrote a couple of years ago. You said, if I had a gay son, I would think I'd...
Oh, look, another. I'm saying to you, the swamp, you guys, the swamp.
You become a champion, you become a star, and some would say...
Let me ask you something. Are you gay?
Have you had the chance
No,
to
are
interact with a more diverse...
you? Let me know. Are you gay?
Could I get an answer?
Well, no, I'm asking. This is a part of. Are you a gay man?
I'm an ally of the community.
Okay. If you had a son and he was like, you had a son, he was gay, you'd be like, oh man, you don't want a grandkid?
No problem with it.
Oh man, well, dude, you're a weak fucking man, dude. You're part of the fucking problem. You elected Justin Trudeau, like, when he sees the bank accounts, like, you're just fucking pathetic. And the fact that you have no fucking backbone, and has he shut down your fucking country and seized bank accounts? You ask me some stupid shit like that, go fuck yourself. Move the fuck on, man.
That doesn't really answer the question, but I did want to ask also things you said about the trans community. You said this past October when they announced the Bud Light sponsorship that you'd go so hard on Bud Light in your next fight, they'll have to accept me or denounce me when they know what, and we'll know what they stand for.
This guy's like, hey, this Canadian's not that Canadian.
Are you still going to use your fight time to kind of speak on that?
Here's the thing about Bud Light.
They're queer.
10 years ago, to be trans was a mental fucking illness. And now all of a sudden, people like you have fucking weaseled your way into the world. You are an infection. You are the definition of weakness.
Shit.
Everything that is wrong with the world is because of fucking you. And the best thing is the world's not buying it. The world's not buying your fucking bullshit you're fucking peddling. The world is not saying, you know what? You're right. Fucking chicks have dicks. The world's not saying that. The world's saying, no, there are two genders. I don't want my kids being taught about, who they could fuck in school. I don't want my kids being taught about, their sexual preference. Like, dude, this guy is the fucking enemy. You want to look at the fucking enemy to our world? It's that motherfucker right there asking these stupid fucking questions.
Somebody give that man an award.
Did not go very well for that journalist, but wait, there's more. 2 days later, after that interview, somebody asked Dana White a similar question saying, hey, Dana, why are you letting Sean Strickland say these things and you're not censoring him? And Dana White basically gave a very similar answer to what Sean Strickland says. So here's Dana White.
Say you're gay and I hate you.
Give a long leash to your fighters about, what they can say when they are up there with a UFC microphone and you are getting into territory of homophobia, transphobia. Like, is there...
I don't give anybody a leash.
Well, I'm saying you...
A leash?
Like...
Free speech. Control what people say. Going to tell people what to believe. Going to tell people... I don't fucking tell any other human being what to say, what to think, and there's no leashes on any of them. What is your question?
I was asking that question. I'll move on though.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
boy.
That's ridiculous to say you give somebody a leash.
Good doggy.
Free speech, brother. People can say whatever they want and they can believe whatever they want.
If about like.
By the way, then afterwards, he said that, look, we had 2 gay women co-main event this show who were standing on the stage with Strickland when he said these things, and they didn't fucking care, so neither should you. Get over it. So we talked about this about a month ago with Kobe Covington and what Kobe had said about Leon Edwards' father, and then once again you have these questions about, oh, why are we allowing the fighters to say these things? Because they're mean and they're hurtful and offensive. And it's like the MMA media are such garbage people because they hate the fact that Dana White is friends with Trump, that Dana White allows his fighters to actually have freedom of speech and actually say whatever they want, whether he left or right, whether he agrees with him. He just like, hey, go out there and promote your fight. I don't care what you say. No, just don't go after our sponsors. Obviously, that's probably where he'll draw the line. But outside of that, it's like you say whatever the hell you want. Like I don't care about.
I don't know. He did go after the fucking sponsor,
Right?
Why? Bud Light
Kind
is a
of.
fucking sponsor to the the UFC.
I like how he had the excuse his CTE kicked in. He's like, Bud Light, I'll tell you something.
Right. Right. You
and
saw
then
that
Bud
he
Light,
was like,
chicks with
oh
dicks.
wait, I gotta
Yep.
pivot.
But chicks with dicks suck.
Listen,
Oh my
I don't
God.
watch UFC at all. Okay, I really
Nor
am
do
pretty
I.
clueless about it, but there's just something about speaking from the gut and not being afraid, and just like and it doesn't even matter what it is, but just and this is I don't know. Growing up, this was a more like liberal thing. It wasn't a conservative thing. It was a to be outspoken, to go against the grain, to and things have shifted so much. It's like, look, we're not buying your bullshit. We're not buying your brand. You can try to shove it and push it as much as you want, but most people, well, I don't want to say most people have common sense, but I feel like most people who see this situation can't lie to themselves enough to be like, yeah, I want to be nice, but I'm not going to lie about what is true. And that is at the center of all of this, is not lying and not hiding away from what is inherently true, what is objectively obviously true. Because the moment you do that, you cede the high ground. You cede any kind of remote argument you could make, and it's just like it goes against like all that is good, basically. So yeah, just I loved kind of seeing that. I'm sorry he lost, that sucks, buddy. But awesome statement. Awesome
Lost by
pushing back.
split decision. So basically,
There's
there's a great clip. There's a great clip like right after that. He's like, you know what? I'm going out there and I'm fighting for Canada and I'm fighting for all of you. We're gonna beat the crap out of each other, and that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go out there and do it for you all.
I mean, I honestly would have continued if I was Strickland. I would have been like, dude, what the fuck does any of this shit have to do with getting in a fucking cage and beating on people? You are asking me about fucking identity politics, which I don't give a fuck about. All I want to do is freaking do my job, get in there, kick some ass, get out. And you just want to fucking bring up all this stupid shit. Fine. Here's my uncensored opinion. And honestly, that's how he should have fucking led with it. Because that would have given a fucking wake-up call to the or even more of a wake-up call to that journalist. Well, I wouldn't call him a journalist. I'd call him an activist. Or maybe a jackavist. Because, well, I'm pretty sure he wants to jack a fist. But yeah, honestly, these journalists they're not journalists. They're asking all the wrong questions.
This is what I said last month when this whole thing circled around again, because they did the same thing with Colby Covington. It's like, oh, in the past you said this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, look, you guys act like you're not watching the most violent sport in the entire world. It's like MMA is literally 2 guys in their underwear beating the ever-loving crap out of each other, either try to knock them out or break their limbs. And you guys are crying about words. Like, this is where we're at now. You're crying about, oh, that guy said something that hurt my feelings. It's like, okay, the guy literally just punched another guy unconscious for like several minutes, and you're crying about something he said on Twitter 3 months ago, right?
It's high school journalists who've never got into a fight talking about guys who actually play the game. And it's sad that UFC reporters have gotten to there.
They're Canadians. You can
Well,
tell the
they
guy's a
have-
Canadian.
Wasn't there a fight
enough
where a
said.
guy literally got knocked out and shit himself?
The man, this Sean Strickland, he's perfectly free to say anything he wishes. You don't have to agree with him, but you know that he has that right. One thing I did notice in that the interviewer or the questioner, when he said, "I'm an ally," I was like, "Well, then you're not really asking a question. You are more like trying to get him to say something, and you're trying to get what do you call them? Gotcha moments where
Get a
you know,
viral gotcha
you're going
moment
to
for virtue signaling.
So I think he should have said, well, that's not that's not relevant whether or not I'm supportive of gay rights or trans rights or what have you. Say, well, no, we just want to address the issue. But by him saying, "Oh, I'm an ally," you're now saying, "Okay, I'm now not interviewing you. I'm arguing with you, and I'm going to show you the error of your ways, right or wrong, whatever you may think of his views." That's goading the person. I don't know if that would work.
Here's what it comes down to. Like, these journalists are so used to getting their way, they think that, oh, I'm gonna ambush this guy with this question, and they're gonna be like, okay, well, you had made these comments about trans people in the past, and they're expecting the guy to go, okay, well, I denounce those comments, I totally love the LGBTQ plus community. And it's like, Sean Strickland, if you guys don't know who Sean Strickland is a legitimate psychopath. So when you ask that question to Sean Strickland, he is going to triple down. He's going to bypass double down. He's going to triple down on everything that he says. It's like, that's the wrong guy to try to use that tactic on. He's not going to back down from anything that he said.
Why would you ask the question of somebody who literally beats the crap out of people for a living? That question.
Because they're stupid. You don't understand. These people are dumb. And something I do want to point out, because I've been seeing this, and probably you guys have been seeing this, but I've been seeing this in my in the localization culture war that they're trying to drag into the this whole thing into, is that both sides are trying to drag every single thing into like another to the grand scheme of the culture war. That's what these activists are trying to do with Sean Strickland, is try to drag him into the main culture war. It's really getting frustrating.
Yeah. It's absolutely infuriating here. Our good buddy C.S. Johnson is joining us here tonight. How you doing, JZ?
Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm late. So
Yeah.
somebody had to be fashionable, though.
Fashionably.
It works.
Yeah, but like I said, these MMA journalists are just absolute cowards. I can rattle off a few names that really just bother me. Luke Thomas is probably the worst out of them all because he's such an insufferable douchebag, and of course he's like this big grifty leftist type, and it's just like, dude, go cover soccer if you're just that big of a pussy. Like just go away. Like, stop covering MMA. Like stop. Like literally, like leave this space like altogether. And it's like. It's such a weird dichotomy. We talk about pro wrestling, and pro wrestling, especially now with its dying fan base, is more, I guess, more progressive, more left wing. Because you look at the cities that really placate the pro wrestling these days, it's like New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, like these big leftist cities. So of course the business kind of reflects that. And then in MMA, it's just a completely like opposite thing. It's like all the right wing people go to MMA. Like even in Canada during this pay per view last Saturday, they had the entire crowd chanting "fuck Trudeau." In Canada. So,
to be fair, like everybody hates
best,
Trudeau. It's not a left or right wing thing with Trudeau. Everybody hates Trudeau up in Canada, to be fair.
Yeah.
Vex Electronica. I don't even live in Canada. I hate him.
I don't even live in Canada, and I know this. And Trudeau is an idiot.
He
Vex
keeps winning the
Electronica.
elections.
She's one of the YouTubers that lives up there, and she's like, I can get into the UFC if they pull or if they do this a lot more.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So it's a lot big, but
yeah, and I know it's not boxing. I know it's UFC, but there's one of my favorite episodes of Mad Men. It covers like the Liston Ali fight in like the early 60s. And Alison Brie, who plays Trudy's just like, I want to eat a big steak and watch two grown men beat the hell out of each other. And it's like, if you don't understand that about wrestling, about the UFC, about boxing, it's like you've already missed the boat. Like
Yeah.
like 90% of the people, that's what it's
But
about.
this is the problem with these people. They try to turn every single space they invade into like this liberal space, safe space, and they get mad that the culture around them doesn't match their ideology and worldview. It's like, no, that's not how the world works. Like, I hate to break this to you. It's like there's a reason why people didn't want you in their sphere to begin with, why they didn't want you in their inner circle, and all you're doing is proving why they didn't want you there in the first place. So that's all they're doing here. So
Hey.
any final thoughts on this one?
Go cover something else, you stupid generalist. Go cover, movies or TV, anything else that's already. You realize what the right has in competitiveness nowadays? All they have left, literally, are UFC and competitive eating. That's all the right has. So come on, give us something.
Well, speaking of unannounced party crashers, our good buddy Pete, who totally was not invited by me to be on the show here tonight, is here joining us. How you doing, Pete?
Hey,
Pete.
Party crashing Pete here, crashing parties, as it says.
Say that.
Well, welcome, Pete.
It's good to be here. I just spent the last hour moaning and complaining about Eric July, so I'm ready to talk about nerd stuff.
All right, then. Well, let's go ahead and jump over to we're going to use this story to jump over to this next story. GLAAD president Sarah Kate Ellis is now hoping that we have more trans representation in movies and television. Now, keep in mind, this is a woman who has been asking for this for quite some time now. This is not anything new, but we're going to jump over here to this just real quick. She made some recent comments. Then I want to go back to something that she said several years ago and how this has affected Hollywood ever since here. But GLAAD president, I believe the Emmys was not that long ago, maybe like a week or so ago, because there is award season. So yeah, this is on the 15th. So she came out and she says that, she's happy about the I guess the victories that the LGBTQ community has had in movies and television over the last several years, last 5 years, be specific. But of course, we have to do more. It's never enough. So it said, for us here at GLAAD, it's such a huge honor and validation of our nearly 40 years of work. Ellis told a Variety here in an interview. They started an annual Where Are We in TV report a few years ago, which really tracks the number of gay characters in television and in movies. And they said that last year that they had almost 600 identified LGBTQ characters on television platforms in 2022 and 2023 alone. But it says that only 5.5% of those were trans characters, which means that we have to do more. We have We've seen this watershed moment for gay, lesbian, and bisexual representation. Where it was Ellen DeGeneres. I don't know if you want to bring up her name these days.
Whether it's Ellen DeGeneres kicking her staff around.
Yeah, being a total bitch. And then Willa Grace. What we don't have yet is our watershed moment for the trans community. I see this as an opportunity, as a chance to speak to the Academy and all the creators in the room and say, we need that moment. We need you, listen to what she's saying here, we need you to create and write about trans people, because there are over 500 anti-LGBTQ bills proposed in the past year that are mostly against trans people or trans youth. So what she's saying there is that she's complaining that they're pushing back against child mutilation and essentially trans people's access to children when she says that. Yeah,
and pedophilia and all that.
Yeah, that too. Ellis notes that 30% of Americans personally know someone who identifies as trans personally. That seems like a very high number in my estimation, leaving 70% to be educated through the media they consume. So I want you to point this out here, because we did get into a kind of a little conflict about this last Tuesday, actually, when we did Echo Mania, and Cider had mentioned that in the show that one of the little girls in the show was wearing a t-shirt that just so happens to mirror the trans colors, and Spencer kind of pushed back on him. It's like, we can't just start being like the left and saying that, this is an agenda attached to here. This woman, who has been a part of the biggest Hollywood gay lobby literally in that industry right now, is saying that they literally need to educate people through the media that they consume, meaning that they need more trans and gay people on television so that people can consume it and be quote unquote educated with their propaganda. It's quite literally what she's saying here. There's no other way to interpret this. Yep. It's shocker. But we're taking up the space in the media right now. People are political pundits who are talking about trans people with misinformation and in negative ways. We need Hollywood to be the antidote to that, which means that we need Hollywood to literally shape the minds of people about our agenda. That's quite literally what she's saying there. So they're not even saying the quiet part out loud. They're pretty much telling you exactly what they're doing here. But this whole thing with Sarah Kate Ellis is not new. I'm gonna go back to a story here that I wrote on Society Reviews going back to 2018, and this was GLAAD wants more LGBTQ characters in films. They would like 20% inclusion by 2021. That was 3 years ago, and they want 50% of their films to have LGBTQ characters by this year, this current year, 2024. So this is what they were pushing for 5 years ago. I'm gonna kind of line this up to where we are right now with this, but like I said, they wanted 20% in films in 2021. I mean, they've gotten very close to that, and they wanted 50% by this year. Now, according to the 2022 report that they did in films, they got their representation up to about roughly 30% of trans characters in their shows here. I think I actually have them the Bounding article here. Yeah, this is based on the numbers that they did in 2022. 30% of all films had a character that was LGBTQ inclusive, 30%. So we're essentially only about 20% difference between where they actually were 2 years ago for where they want to be this year. So we're not that far away from what they want it to be. As far as 2021 goes, they only missed their goal, their marker there by about 5%. So like I said, this woman is in control of the biggest LGBTQ lobby in Hollywood, and she's actively pushing the biggest studios in Hollywood, which means like Sony, Disney, Amazon, Netflix, and Universal, pushing them to create more content to literally shape the minds of the masses here. So this is exactly what she's calling for, just in case you guys didn't know. So if you don't think that there's an agenda going on, they're telling you there's an agenda going on. So Rob, I'm going to start this one off with you here real quick. What do you think about Kate making a call for more trans people on television? In movies?
Yeah, unfortunately I know who this woman is. She shares the last name of probably my favorite cultural critic and author, Bret Easton Ellis, who is disinvited for not being a gay who behaves from the GLAAD Awards 10 years ago. So he's spoken a lot about this on his podcast, how like GLAAD is trying to push, and this makes no sense in terms of diversity, by the way. They're trying to push this acceptable, socially acceptable gay person who is not overtly promiscuous and is very almost is like a sexless automaton political identity to show the public, and it's like it has nothing to do with just being a human being, and the thing is, like, if you want to try to change minds, you do it through good art. You do it through characters who are interesting and brave and courageous and whatever, you know what I mean? Like aside from the panels, just aversion to whatever gay relationships being shown as a positive or whatever. It's like ultimately at the end of the day, it's like show human relationships, show healthy things. But like this idea that you're going to try to educate the public, you're going to try to tell people how to be and the appropriate way to act. I mean, it's the antithesis of what art is. You know what I mean? So I think this is a giant misstep. This is somebody who lives in an echo chamber, who thinks that it's her job to literally educate and dictate to the public, what's acceptable and what's not. So there's a lot of people in the gay community who hate this shit, who absolutely, like, it drives them up the wall. It's like, okay, you're making it easier to hate us. You're making us a target by doing shit like this, by the way. So it's dumb. Like, there are ways to make interesting movies that aren't ideological, that don't beat you over the head with their message. Try that. The 90s were full of it. Literally, like, I'm amazed that they don't celebrate the 90s more for having, like, for instance, The Birdcage was an incredible movie. And they're making fun of social conservatives, but you're doing it in a humanist way. Gene Hackman is the butt of the joke. He's the one that doesn't know Nathan Lane's a woman, so it's there are ways to do this that I think are entertaining and interesting and creative and show empathy for their characters. But like, that has to be the goal, not lecturing people and feeling superior. Look, I'm just going to say this out loud, straight up. The trans thing is so fucking weird. It's Sean Strickland. I just bring up Sean Strickland again. The fact that nobody was talking about it 10 years ago and now it's everywhere I'm sorry, as even as a former progressive liberal person, I'm like, that's fucking weird. If you don't ask, like, if you're not asking that question and you're paying attention, I don't know what the fuck is going on in your head, because it's so bizarre. It's so weird how much it's been pushed in the last decade. And again, like, I'm not
can
someone
say
who's
this.
looking to combat it. I'm somebody that's like, what is going on? I'm just trying to understand.
I could say this as someone who was a liberal Democrat once upon a time too. I wouldn't go as far to ever call myself a progressive on any issues, but my view of the whole thing was just like this: is like when they were pushing when they were making the push for gay rights like 25 years ago. My attitude for probably like a lot of people is like, look, you want to get married, like who cares? Like, it doesn't really affect me. Like, it doesn't really bother me like at all. So that's kind of the way that we looked at it at the time, right? And then when you saw the propaganda increase, it was kind of like they were forcing you to take a stand on the issue. But it's like, I just generally like don't care. It's like, it was kind of like very like we built this whole thing kind of like indifference, essentially, right? Like, we're very indifferent to like the one issue. It's like, look, if you guys want to go do that, like, you go do like over there, right? And as time goes on now, it's making very, very evident here that they're, like I said, they're using movies and television shows and all these other things to propagize us to essentially be in full support of their whole thing. So it's like, you have to be a part of our cause or else you're an enemy. And it's like, first of all, you're not going to tell me what to do. So that's where we're going to start off right there. And second of all, you're pushing me so far that I've now gone to the complete opposite direction. It's like, you know what? I went for someone who probably would have been on your side and someone who didn't really care that much, and now I'm opposing you because that's how annoying and insufferable you people are. And this is what you guys have done to a whole lot of people in this country, because you're like this whole ideology that if you're not with us, you're our enemy. And it's like, well, guess what? You just made a hell of a lot of enemies by doing that. So, Johnson, you did just. Well, real quick, Johnson, you did just get here, so I want to get your insight on this one. What do you think about GLAAD pushing propaganda in television?
Well, I mean, she can advocate for it all she wants. Doesn't mean people will watch. I mean, I pretty much told my kids that the reason that mommy has to check stuff anymore is because Satanists run the Hollywood circle. So, like, I mean, like, I don't think that education is bad for what it's worth. I think, you know, you should be willing to hear people out. And I think empathy is mostly a good goal for people. I don't think you should sympathize with the devil so much that you would still agree with letting him off punishment. Like the whole villain has the sob story type stuff. I really hate it because at the end of the day, they still made bad choices. And if anything, they should recognize their bad choices are not, even if they're based on things that have happened to them, they're not an excuse that like gives them a free card to go and victimize everybody else. And I think that's just like what we're pushing is like, no. If you don't get to suffer and then make other people suffer. So
yeah,
she can do what she wants, but I'm not going to be watching. I don't want my kids, hopefully.
I do agree with what CJ is saying about you got to have an open mind and at least hear other people out on their views and where they're coming from, because that's something that's been a huge problem, is how people are very close-minded and don't want to hear anyone out. And this has been a problem for a really long time now. And the other thing is, and I've noticed it too, and you guys probably have noticed it over at least the past decade or so, how people went, and even Jacob said it, how people went from, we don't give a shit what you do, just do what you want. As long as you're not bothering me, I don't care. Just be yourself. We don't give a shit about your race. We don't give about your sexuality, religion, whatever. Just do what you want. Just leave me out of it. As long as you're not
go away.
As long as you're not imposing on my rights or breaking the law, I don't care. But now I think it has something to do with social media partially, and also bad parenting as well.
Yeah, your kids should not be on social media.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. I think it's because these kids are looking for attention and they want attention so bad that they're acting out. And a lot of people are calling this, at least in my circle, they're calling it fatherless behavior. They are. They're just calling these people. They're calling them the fatherless. That's what people in my circle are calling them, is the fatherless.
Well, somebody who definitely seeks attention all the time and doesn't have a father, I agree with what you just said.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's how these people. You can
I
tell.
can't deny that.
You can
It
tell.
explains me so much. It explains me so much.
The top row is in complete agreement on that one.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell. I mean,
This is the story of the man named Brady right here.
I mean, before my stepdad came into my brother's life, when my parents got divorced, he was acting out and being a complete asshole. Then when my stepdad came into the picture and, disciplined him and whipped him into shape, he stopped. So that's why I'm like, yeah, I could see the people being jackasses, these Zoomers being jackasses on Twitter. Yeah, they're probably fatherless.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I think that's a big cause of the men who go their own way movement, is like fatherlessness and failing to reconcile daughters with their fathers is a big leading cause of all the feminism.
We brought this up, and I'll let Pete go here in a second, but we brought up Brie Larson in the context I'll explain later, but because Brie Larson is known for having a very bad reputation behind the scenes with people who, keep in mind, would otherwise be on her side if it weren't for the fact that she's such an insufferable person in real life. And she's one of these people we talk about, her upbringing. She talks about the relationship she had with her dad, and shocking, it wasn't a good one. So it's like, when you have like the one example of what should be a good man in your life, and that's being completely ripped away from you, then you're more likely to be endeavored into, like I said, feminism. And like I said, there's a lot of people within the LGBT community, whether they admit it or not, a lot of them do admit it, that they just don't have a good relationship with their parents because their parents were either abusers, there was somebody in the house that was like not doing what they were supposed to do, let's just put it that way. And that's what leads them to find a community, because when you don't have that community at home, you look elsewhere, and all of a sudden there's this one group of open arms, and you think that, okay, I can identify myself with these people, and it all comes from the home one way or another. But
well, that's such a reason between the behind the like found family trope that we see too.
Mm-hmm. Pete, what's your thoughts on this story here?
I kind of feel sorry for Hollywood in a way. I feel like they have lost the artistic edge because they've become so embroiled and totally overcome by their feelings of politics and appearances, even into a way that previous generations would be embarrassed. And that's saying something if you know about the history of Hollywood, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. But if BP comes to you, they're going to try to sell you on oil. Like if the LGBT advocacy people come to you, what they're offering. The problem is Hollywood has no immune response anymore. It's been obliterated. So whatever they're selling, they just take it. They just swallow it wholesale. It reminds me of a great story when talking about the development of the game Last of Us 2, which if people who like the Last of Us series, especially the first game, it's very different tonally. And there's a great interview Neil Druckmann gave about what, people are asking, so why did all these things change? And he says, well, he basically said the story that I was with, some of my writers who are ladies, and they say, well, why don't we make this character a woman? Why don't we make this character gay? And the only appropriate response he can give to any of it is yes. And that's what's happened to Hollywood. They have no immune response. So anything that gets sold to them, they think all problems are equal. And because of the victimhood complex, trans is at the top. It's like the most important of all the victimhoods. And so they just have to take it. It doesn't matter how crazy and out there and ridiculous it is. It doesn't matter how much it cuts into their market or appeal. They'll just take it. And, to tie this up, one of the interesting things that I've seen these last few weeks, I've been trying to catch up on my anime that I missed on over the last year. And I come away feeling so much more fulfilled. I think some of the things I've seen in the last few months that I felt like, wow, this is amazing. Makes you feel joyful for life and to really appreciate art. Godzilla -1 is another one, a movie that was made with 15 million. I mean, there's so much else going on in the world, and we here in the West it's just pitiful, our output. It just lacks so much of the meat and the meaning. And so you read reporting like that Nerdigans has covered, where it talks about the people in Japan, and they're literally laughing at us because they don't understand. This is all so bizarre. And it is, but we're so in deep, and Hollywood is so entangled, they just can't seem to see it.
It's a sad reality of where we are.
Well, I don't think, even if they see it, they can't escape it.
Right. They know it. See, this is the thing. It's like you have your middle executives who kind of buy into the bullshit. The guys at the top know. They know it's crumbling. They know it's diminishing returns. It's the system. And again, it is not even, Rick can back me up on this. The studio system no longer exists, has not really existed since like the late 60s. When all of the original moguls and their predecessors sold them off to corporations. This has been happening for 50 years. It's just we're now at a point where the creative output is so low, and all they have left is like trying to get new, younger people into the theaters by making it overly ideological, making basically trying to brainwash people in with what they already believe. Hey, we care about you. We care about your community. It's like some surreal commercial out of RoboCop. At the beginning and throughout where they play like the commercials for like the heart and like, like the commercial aspects to like continue living your life. Even though, you're on your third heart or whatever. It's that kind of surreal, satirical thing where it's like, we're at the end game now. I don't think Hollywood exists. I mean, whatever. It might exist in some form, but it will cease to exist as we know it in probably the next 10 years.
Well, if it doesn't change anyway.
Right.
Well,
the
studio system really understood that they were supposed to appeal to as wide an audience as possible. Nowadays, people are making films for, I guess, as niche a market as possible, but then expect the audience to embrace it, like a large audience. We were talking about representation. Let's back to Bros. That was supposed to bring in all these people who were going to see a rom-com because it was to be with two men. A, I don't think that's a positive representation, and B, that movie flopped disastrously. But they spent how much? What, more than 10 million? More than they did on Godzilla for something so horrendous. I always wonder also, the trans community, how it seems to be growing. I know
it's mostly men.
Reason to understand why it is growing. It is mostly men. It is mostly men who dress as the stereotypical woman with the long hair and the nails and the dresses and are acting very feminine.
Right.
I don't know if having 50% of stories centered with a trans character, trans performer, or trans storyline is going to bring in audiences, because who's going to rush out to see something like this? And you've had the already big turning points. What about, Laverne Cox, I think, was nominated in actress, in the actress category. Wasn't that enough? I don't understand. I mean,
think about it like this.
To appeal to.
Bill Maher said this, I think, almost like 2 years ago now, about the so-called spike in trans children that has nothing to do with Hollywood or propaganda or anything like that. But he said it outright. It's like, if one side of the country is not seeing this explosion in trans community, but one is, either Ohio is shaming these people or California is creating them. So which one is more likely?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the weird thing is that they even have a lady behind the thing with the presidential podium in front of her. They're now saying all of this stuff. Like, I don't know, maybe it's all a business. Maybe a lot of these decisions, like trying to go along with it, is just all business. It's said in the Oscars that in order for your movie to even be considered an Oscar, it has to have a certain amount of representation in the crew, in the cast, in the representation of the story, in all these different things.
Yeah,
so
why do you think America Ferrera got nominated for an Academy Award earlier today?
So it's just, it's ridiculous how Hollywood's changed its ways and everything else. And I don't know whether Western media can come back.
You have to wonder. You know what? You have to wonder if like Suzume or How Do You Live had more like gay and trans representation, if the Academy would have had it nominated for more categories. Because it's just so bizarre.
Look, in terms.
Well, it's bizarre because
I said this already. I'm sorry. I know there's the way there.
Can I finish my point?
I said this before. Go ahead.
But
Go ahead, Nerdigans.
Just talk, damn it.
Let me finish. Something that's been a huge problem, and I noticed it in the comments this morning in the Academy Twitter, is that people are starting to get very frustrated that animation is not getting taken seriously, because there's been a lot of good movies in animation, like Spider-Verse is not as good as like Suzume or the first Slam Dunk or whatever, but people are getting fed up with Hollywood not taking animation seriously. That's the only point I was going to make.
Well, they're the only ones. Animation's the only thing that's actively doing like different trans characters and things like that.
No,
so.
Rick.
I'm sorry, Rick.
Rick, you're like 3 seconds behind like everybody else in the chat.
In terms of
the bomb hasn't gone off yet, Rick.
Sorry.
Let him talk.
I'll try. I might just sign out and sign in somewhere else. But real quick, I've said this already. In terms of characters to the population, the LGBTQ community is vastly overrepresented. There are not that many gay people, and again, it's my catch-all term. There are not that many gay people compared to how many there are on film and on television. There's a vast overrepresentation, and I don't understand why she wants, or anyone wants, more representation, as if there's a dearth of characters. There's not. There's an overabundance. Even Barbie had a trans Barbie there, in case anyone missed it. We've had, the only people I guess you couldn't put in a trans character in Oppenheimer.
Her name was Midge.
Line trap Barbie.
All I can say is that I think there's an overrepresentation in gay characters as compared to the population. So what is she going on about that there needs to be
they want to
more
create more gay.
representation?
They want to create more gay characters and more trans characters and things like that. Actively, they're saying we need to get in front of more eyeballs so we can create more people to go along with our ideology. So they need more. They need to create their own demographic.
Yeah. So like I said, this whole thing is just nuts. But like I said, this is what Hollywood has been planning to do for the last several years, and they're certainly fulfilling their own prophecy when it comes to the explosion of these LGBTQ characters. So
originally,
go ahead.
Sorry, I was muted. I forgot to unmute. But originally, GLAAD actually said we want to have an equal representation, meaning as equal as the amount of people we have in the world. Well, then when they started getting that, they started saying, well, we won't stop until we have 50% of all characters in entertainment as LGBTQ. And now that they are rapidly hitting that, now they're going for fucking 100%. And when they reach that, they're not going to have anything to watch anymore, because nobody's going to fucking want to watch the tranny show. I'm sorry. Nobody fucking cares about chicks with dick. There's porn for that. And nobody fucking cares about that shit either. But honestly, it's like, dude, GLAAD, shut the fuck up. Because like Chuck Strickland said, people are a fucking infection. And I say that in all honesty, because they are literally infecting fucking entertainment and people are saying, we don't care about this. We just want to be entertained. We just want a good story, something that's well written. And yet all they care about is, well, no, you need to like us because we're trans. No, we don't.
Nope, not at all. But this is what we're doing here. And this is actually a good jumping off point to our next topic here. Now, this is the only reason why I invited Pete to be on the show to begin with. He literally has no other purpose but to talk about this one topic. And so Amazon is apparently working on a new series here called, I want to make sure I get this name right here, because it's called, what's this? Hazbin Hotel? Is that the name of the show?
Hazbin Hotel.
Yep.
Okay, so this is a show that's coming out on Amazon Prime. I'm pretty sure if you have Prime Video, you receive advertisement for this show, and it's pretty much a show that's straight up promoting the Gnostic gospel. If you guys don't know what the Gnostic gospel is, we'll explain it to you here in the course of the show. But as we've talked about countless times throughout the course of this podcast here, Hollywood is seemingly starting to expose exactly who they follow here. And ever notice that, you know, we're flipping good as evil and evil as good, and for some weird reason everyone seems to be very infatuated with telling a love story about Satan for some weird reason. I'm not sure there's any alternative motives behind it, but I just want to go ahead and show you guys here the trailer for this new Amazon Prime show. If I can pop this back up. Yep, there we go. And you guys tell me what you guys think. We'll quick little pause here. Just quick little pause here. I can already hear Duke Nukem somewhere in Germany yelling "Haram" as this thing is playing right now. So I'm just gonna keep it going here. Oh yeah. So just in case you guys aren't following here, they literally made a cartoon where Lucifer is the good guy and of course Heaven is the bad guy. But I'm gonna keep going. There you go. That's Amazon's new occultic TV show based on the idea that we're going to flip the entire story of the Bible to where Heaven are the bad guys, Lucifer is the good guys. We're going to remove all references of God in Christ there too, because why not when we do this as well? And look, I know it feels like I'm hammering this point home a little too much for some people, but what did I say not too long ago? Once is a coincidence, twice is a pattern, 3 times is an agenda. And when you get to about 20th time, you have to start asking yourself how other people aren't picking up on this after a while. I mean, it's so kind of blatant, like in your face now. Like when we used to talk about these type of conspiracies a number of years ago, we would say that, oh, there's no evidence to support that any of these people are actually like following Satan or trying to romanticize Satan in any kind of way. Now it's so apparently blatant. Some people are either trying to cope with the reality of what these people are doing because they don't want to accept it themselves, or they're just coming up to us like, okay, I think we're getting to a point where I'm going to have to accept that these people are just Satan worshiping pedophiles. Just set that on YouTube. So there you go. Pete, I know you had something that you wanted to bring up here about this story.
Who drink Bud Light? Who drink Bud
This
Light?
is a great layup here for Pete. But I know Pete had some thoughts that he wanted to express about this story, so I'll go ahead and start it off with you there. What do you think of this new Amazon Prime show?
I overall kind of like it. It's
okay. There's a reason why I never had him on here to begin with. Go ahead.
I don't know. It's edgy, but it's edgy if it was like made in like 2001, 2002. It's like late to the party kind of edgy. It's very weird. Like even in if you don't know, Hazbin Hotel was a pilot in 2019 by like a small team and one lady, Viv Z-Pop, and then that eventually got turned to this show. And between then, she had a web series, Hell of a Boss. If you've seen Hell of a Boss, this is like so similar. It's kind of crazy. Like the story arcs, the characters, and characterization, all of it is so very similar. If you like a weird Southern California animation, this is super Californian, like to the extreme. Maybe there's some delight.
You say that as this is a positive, and I'm not sure if we're taking.
I know it's like
Pilgrim in hell.
You have to like that stuff. It's like if you don't like it, then you're not gonna like it. If you like it, you do. I think it's funny. People think it's so edgy. It's edgy in like a really. It feels very juvenile the way it's edgy.
Well, it's almost presented like mythology. It's presented as if the person telling the story doesn't believe in the Bible, in the literal Christian story. So I can understand it from you're trying to create something from a mythological point of view, like the Greeks and Romans did. However, there's just some. I know what Pete's saying because I kind of agree with him, but I also am just like, okay. Yeah, it's another thing that's like pointing to these people being,
Yeah.
And again, I'm an atheist. I don't really want to believe that this is real.
But she's known for is furry stuff. She does a comic about furries. That's her other thing. Like this is
okay.
She's
dabbled into satanic art before.
Hold on a second, Pete. You understand that by revealing that this person is a furry is not helping against the allegations of them being Satan worshiping pedophiles, right?
Oh, come now. I understand that mental O'Rourke is a furry, so
I think you're
that's
giving her a
plus.
bit too much credit because even in the show, the rules of the world doesn't make sense at all. It's Satan, but Satan's kind of a cuck. It's actually about Lilith. She's the brains behind the operation. He's just kind of a sad little wimpy guy. It's very weird. Like, it's not very consistent. I think it's funny when these things come out and all these people freak out. But if you actually watch the thing, it's just ridiculous. It's
Okay,
just
Big
silly.
Mouth though. Big Mouth
Big
was
Mouth is
disgusting.
horrible.
Like,
No, Big
I'm
Mouth is
sorry,
hell, yeah.
my girlfriend
yeah.
at the time and I were watching it. I was like, "This is gross. This is a fucking kid show. What is like what?"
I think this is edgy in the sense that, oh look, people are gonna hate it. The story features two women who are lesbians and they're in love. I'm like, what year is this?
It's almost. It's almost as if Satan's like an executive producer of the show, which is very
See, that's the thing is that it's because it's animated. You know that somebody's gonna put this on as a babysitter for some kid, and they're gonna watch this whole thing, and they're gonna, what have you. This goes back to this Vlad thing where
they really shouldn't.
Yeah. See, that's the thing is that it's animated. Anything that's animated, everyone just kind of goes.
The third most important character on the show is a literal porn actor.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind we've seen this.
I showed my 9-year-old BoJack Horseman. You can't begrudge me.
But keep in mind, we've seen this increase, especially over the last 10 years. There's this rise of quote unquote adult animation that if you look at it just on face value, you would think that it's a kid's show. It's like to actually like listen to the content of the show or watch the content of the show, you realize that kids should not be watching this whatsoever. But you can also see how it's very easy with the animation style to deceive people into thinking, oh, this is something my kid can watch, and just walk away and not realize that, oh yeah, now I just corrupted my child. So
I don't think it's mature. I don't think it comes really from the world of adult animation. I think it comes something more of like what Cartoon Network was doing there near the end with like Steven Universe. It's very immature. You can definitely tell it's taking huge impulses and influences from Disney. There's a lack of emotional maturity. If you've seen Hell of a Boss, it doesn't make a lick of sense because there's a lot.
It's almost as a reflection. It's a reflection on the creator.
It doesn't feel like the writers are fully formed adults. It feels like someone whose brain is still very much stuck being a teenager.
Yeah. Well, this cartoon is probably not as bad as Song of the South, which we cannot see. That will traumatize children. This will not. That's my understanding. I really don't have much to add to this. What is it? Hell's a Poppin' or whatever this thing is called.
Hell's a Poppin'.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've seen on Twitter and YouTube, Tim Cass, Charlie Kirk. They're all talking about it.
Those guys are idiots. Yeah,
those guys are nuts. Why are you?
Yeah,
why were you
they're
listening
dummies.
to them?
We're talking about people that just like talk so much smack about not just Hell of a Boss, but anime and animation in general.
They don't want you. They want you to go outside and actually play football and shit. Fuck them. We're playing video games and watching anime.
No, this is got to be something. This is probably something that Matt Walsh will probably have another meltdown about because he thinks anime is satanic. So now he has more proof that there's more.
Oh, if he hasn't picked up on it, I guarantee he will.
He
will. He'll say it in the others ban it.
I don't know. As somebody who watched like all of these like high dramatic online dramatic, social media dramatic type of movies that bring people to the core of their essences of understanding of shit, which it's a cartoon and it's a Netflix cartoon. And, of course, Netflix told them do whatever you want. And this crazy person decided, hey, I'll do whatever I want. I have a cartoon now. So it's the same thing with Big Mouth, which is, disgusting. I'm still one of the only people I know that watched Cuties. It's still disgusting, but I'm still one of the few. Yeah, I'm still one of the few people that knew about it. I'm one of the few people I know that watched the movie Cuck. Remember the movie Cuck? Nobody watched it. I watched it. It's a terrible fucking movie.
I've never heard of it either.
It's a terrible movie. No one watched it, but it was like for a week. It's about Trump and it's about this and it's about that. And it's like, what? So overblowing the what do you call it? Nonsense. No thanks.
Here's where I'll push back just a bit on this one. I want to get Orange Hat CJ's take on this too. Is that whenever you get a show like this that comes out, and it's not just a show. Like we see this in movies and television shows and music videos, any kind of form of media. Every now and then, it's coming more frequently now, but we always see these type of things that tries to spin biblical truth and romanticize hell and demonize Christians and God and all this other stuff. And every time one of these things come out, we always isolate it as if it's just one show that's completely isolated from all the other shows that have come out beforehand. But when you see this happen so many times in succession, it's getting to a point where it's like, okay, if it was just this one show and there was no other shows that we were talking about here, maybe we can have an argument here. But we've seen this plenty of times now. We've covered a lot of these stories over the last several months. You go back with, this whole thing with this film. We talk about the whole situation with Balenciaga. You talk about the whole situation with the Hollywood. I mean, how many actors have we talked about here over the last few months that have like, oh, I dabble in witchcraft. Yeah, I pray to a demon. Oh yeah, I'm demon obsessed. Oh yeah, I'm obsessed with Saturn in the 33rd year and all this other stuff. And it's like, it's getting to a point now where it's like you start putting this all together, you have to come to like one conclusion that maybe some of these people, maybe a lot of these people are just evil. And like I said, I think that's the line that people just don't want to cross to, that maybe this isn't just one big thing of, oh, they're just trying to be edgy. Maybe they're just telling us exactly who they are and we're the ones that are not accepting it. Maybe the problem is us. Do you feel that way, Orange Hat?
Not at all. Honestly, I cannot say what I would really want to say about this project for obvious reasons. However, I do think that there has been a rapid rise in anti-religious and reverse religious rhetoric in content. They're actually trying to bring back the show Lucifer for another season or two. And I'm thinking you should have stopped with the one. Huh?
Oh, I was just saying real quick. My parents love that show. Came on Netflix.
I mean, there is a comedic factor to the show, but it still doesn't mean that it's not anti-religious. I mean, it is very anti-religious, or the whole premise of it, in fact. But the fact is, all of this stuff is coming to a head, and honestly, it's to the point where I would be on the first fucking rocket off this goddamn planet because I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of all this shit that they're trying to shove down our throats, and I'm sick and tired of having or not being able to actually stand against it other than just through words and through raising awareness that this is the agenda that they're pushing, yet people are looking at us like we're the fucking kooks. It's like, you call your fucking selves religious, yet you watch this shit. Who the fuck, or honestly, why don't you just fucking go into a church, say, Hail Satan, and fucking just expose yourself? Because honestly, if you really do call yourself religious, you wouldn't watch this shit simply because it has a little bit of whatever entertainment factor or no. There comes a time when you actually have to stand up for what you believe in. I have done that, and I can honestly say I have stuck with that. I will not support a Disney movie in the theaters. I will not support a DC movie in the theaters. I will not support a Marvel movie in the theaters. In fact, the only fucking movie I will support in theaters right now is fucking Godzilla, the -1, not the other one. But it's like that's the only movie that I would rather support in theaters. Fuck everything else, because honestly, until Top Gun 3 comes out, there ain't no other reason to go to the theater. So yeah, I can actually say that I've stood by my fucking beliefs, and I've actually put my money where my mouth is. How many other people can say the same? Obviously not those huge fucking channels that like to say, oh, we stand against Hollywood shit. Yet you fucking go to the theaters and you fucking give money to them. So honestly, shut the fuck up with your hollow words. Until you're ready to actually put your fucking money where your mouth is, until you're actually ready to stop supporting the shit with money, period, shut the fuck up.
CJ, let me ask you this, because as someone who is a Christian and probably has read the book of Revelation once and twice in her life, it says that, in the future, there will be a time where the world, quite literally the entire world, will worship a representative of Satan himself. And when you hear that on face value, you think to yourself, well, that's crazy. That's something that will never happen. People supporting evil. Does it sound a little less crazy nowadays? Like, what's your take on this whole thing?
I will say, like, I've been alive long enough to see that people are incredibly, I don't want to say stupid, but let's just say stupid. So
I was about to
yeah,
whisper stupid right before you said it.
well, it's like, I mean, it's coming down to it, it's like, I'll say this. Okay, confused people confuse other people. I don't think that, and just like hurt people hurt people. You're going to have the kind of like ripple effect where eventually there'll be so much to deal with that people can't parse through it all in a way where other people will be safe. Like, as far as Orange Hat goes, I agree. You should not be supporting this. If you are a parent, you should not be watching your kid or letting your kids watch this. There's like nothing that your kid should be watching, frankly.
I've been saying this for quite some time, even before I really dabbled into like this stuff. We should not be allowing television to raise our kids. I think for the last 30 years we've been doing that, especially here in this country, and we see that's been to disastrous results because people are just like, oh yeah, I'll just put Blue's Clues on or Nickelodeon on, and my kids will learn something from this. And it's like, yeah, look how well that worked out. Probably should stop doing that.
I'll say as a parent, like, I've done that, but my kids like Hey Arnold. We started watching The Wild Thornberrys this week because we're getting into science with like zoology and stuff. It's cutesy stuff. It's 90s stuff. It's not really gonna make them gay. There you go.
Not gonna turn them into trans monsters.
Right. So
Make them talk to monkeys though. That's kind of
it's cutesy stuff that gives you like that playful what if. It stirs the imagination while giving you some intellectual stuff. And it looks, I don't know, what I like about, I will say this, like, I like the style of the 90s Nickelodeon stuff. Just, it has so much more personality than generic stuff that comes out today. And so I like the personality, even if it's silly, with Tim Curry's, Nigel Thornberry, buck teeth in his goofy mustache.
Well, wasn't it Lacey Chabert who played Eliza Thornberry in that show? Wasn't that her?
I don't know. Another nice thing about animation there is, like, I don't have to worry who's voicing the characters necessarily. So, and my, like, I have family members that they like the Daniel Tiger stuff because that's supposed to be like an animated version of
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there is some good TV, but no, this is not it. Obviously, just because something is animated doesn't mean that it's for children, and doesn't just because even like Space Wizards are for children. That's such a misconception. I think that should be repeated often. So I don't see TV as something to like cloister your children from, but I also agree that it should be monitored. You should know what your kids are watching. You should not be letting them watch stuff that you have not watched, and you should definitely not be watching stuff that came out in the last 10 years. So, as far as the idolatry and the hearsay, blasphemy, this is actually, like, I kind of expect this on some level because people believe what they want to believe, and believing that there are people that can't run from that, though. And I think finding something that will stick it to the man, whether it's your father, your stepfather, or God himself, this is kind of like that version of it.
Yeah,
We've
but
seen
the
a lot
man
of
is like
this.
corporate America, though. Like, what the fuck? How did it get? It just moved into literal men. Like, you hate.
Well, I mean, that's kind of just the trajectory of it. God the Father, to thine be the glory, the kingdom, and the power. I mean, the same thing. You will find people at every level trying to stick it to God at the end of the day. So, I will say your faith shouldn't be shaken by a silly cartoon, though. I do think that there are people who can watch this, and what I would try to do sometimes for people when I was a little bit younger is I would read stuff that was popular and explain why it was bad theologically or just critically, because some of it was both. So
And if worst comes to worst, just have everybody watch Neon Genesis Evangelion, and then you'll be able to have a Christian ideal with all sorts of craziness along with it.
Oh, I love Neon Genesis.
Just watch
Oh,
Digimon
wow.
or something like that. I don't know.
Don't expose your kids to anime. It'll poison them. Okay.
see the first
Yeah.
like a little
Thank
show
you,
I was
Matt.
watching Pokemon.
Yeah.
So
Look, as someone who has been to one emphasis on one anime convention, I can honestly say that anime does not lead to anything positive to the human development. So,
Not a lot of hygiene, at least.
I think. Well, I mean, it's just like Comic-Con in some way. It's like
Right.
you can have people who have
all I
life
can say
and
is
don't
that
make it their life.
all I can say is that Zest would make a killing at an anime convention.
And I know it's not the same with this Amazon show that we're talking about, but I remember back in the 90s, you had people that were saying like The Simpsons and Family Guy was demonic. And I mean, it's like just because they challenge, I mean, their very basis is sort of just challenge thought anyway, as satire pieces, you know what I mean? And so anything that challenges authority or the status quo is quote unquote demonic, but this is literally like on the nose, like, oh, okay, I can understand why people would have issues with
It's
it.
like
you know?
it's like now we're not even going from like basic like I'm an atheist and I don't believe in God type of this is demonic. It's like this is literal occultism.
Well, I mean, the idea of like art is that it's supposed to hearken to you, like beauty and truth and freedom and love and all these good universal things. And people have taken it to the point where it's like, oh, people are just too stupid, so we have to tell them what this is supposed to mean, and that's why.
And not only that, but just real quick, like even normies are starting to notice this now. Because I had someone who told me like that Sabrina show that's on Netflix, that one that people were saying that I noticed that hey, when they were doing like these blood rituals like on the show, like these are actual occultic like witchcraft things that they're doing on the show. This isn't even like they're making things up for the sake of the show. Like they're actually doing real rituals on there. Even people who went and go see Doctor Strange 2 a couple of years ago, the Wanda movie, there was guys that were like after watching that movie we were doing interviews like, oh yeah, and, I was really taken back by how like demonic like the thing was. It turns out they were actually using like real occult symbols and real occult spells like in the film itself. So it's like we're not even like playing around like faking like what we're doing right now. Like they're just straight up doing it and putting it in our faces now.
That or they think it's all fake anyway, and they're just throwing it in their faces because well, no one cares. It's all the same thing anyway. It's all Jesus stuff.
It's certainly been a big change from like Bewitched to Hell's a Poppin' or whatever this. I can't remember that, so I'm just gonna keep calling it Hell's a Poppin'.
I love that title. That's a better title.
Yeah,
but even the original Sabrina the Teenage Witch, a show that I grew up with watching, it was harmless. It was literally a harmless sitcom with a laugh track, and I didn't watch that Netflix show.
Even a show like
in the day.
Even a show like Charmed would be like tame by comparison to like what we're doing.
Old Charm,
now.
not current Charm.
Old Charm. Yeah, so all I know is that I'm actually going to be doing a series on this in 2 weeks on our Monday Night Bible Ends podcast. It's going to be focused on Matthew 4, because people think that the whole idea of selling your soul to the devil is something that's just like wild conspiracy theory stuff. If you read Matthew 4, 8 and 9, I mean, Satan literally tried to tempt Jesus by saying that I will give you all of these things if you fall down and worship me. And we're supposed to believe that he's never offered that to anyone else ever since that day 2,000 years ago. And it's like, I think some people may have said yes. That's all I'm going to say there. So,
he's got to get bored, right? The devil has to be bored, right? So he would obviously keep trying.
The devil is an eternal creature, so I don't think he'll get bored.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all just
use
waiting
time
there.
differently than we do.
Yeah, they're all just waiting their time before they get tossed in the big burning.
They don't have the
fire
subscription at Netflix yet.
They run Netflix. They don't need a subscription.
If I could just slip in 2 more comments here, and then I'll just get my.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll do one serious, one funny. A funny one to end on. But I think the serious part is what makes this different with the stuff with the satanic imagery, with using hell and devil and Lucifer, and using all these story elements, it's not Aleister Crowley. The 95+% of the people who are doing this just think it's all religion's just a farce. It's all a joke. It's the atheist side of all. It's lol Satan. It's not anything like deeply felt. It's just, oh well, all of it doesn't really matter, so who cares? But there's always it's like this is one of the weird things I've interacted with enough people that are kind of in the atheist community, and you always get like 98 of them are just there like that, and you always get like 1 or 2 who are like they do believe it. So I do share like a little bit of a hint of like is there just that one guy that actually believes all this stuff that's pushing on it? And I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that, but I think it's deeply, I mean, if you see these shows, it's deeply unserious. It's not Aleister Crowley, going back to people who had like really thought this out and had written tomes and all kinds of crazy stuff. It's, it's lol, look at this, ha ha. And that's as deep as it gets, guys. It's like a puddle. And I would say, if you want something funny, you should look up some of the fans that follow Hazbin Hotel, because they are just insane. A great example of this, I don't know, I want to feel like Nerdigans probably knows the story, but Verbal Ace, who was a pretty well-doing beatbox animation YouTuber, he would put it's Thanos versus Sonic the Hedgehog, or it's just ridiculous stuff. And he had stopped putting on content for like a year, and then someone sneaked out something he had paid probably $50,000 on, and he had paid someone to make a 3-minute high quality. I'll put that in quotes, high quality blue music video with his OC character in it. It is one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you check it out.
Skinamax animation.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah, It's great. I heard actually he went out of his way to like animate the whole thing, like not animate, but like videograph himself doing the whole thing so they could use it as a reference for all the positions and everything. So there's tape of that somewhere also.
He should have just released it on his own YouTube channel. At least he get the clicks, but then someone else did it and they got all of it. Like, he doesn't even get that benefit. Like, if you're going to do this, if it's going to come out, just go with the embarrassment.
You put yourself in a cartoon softcore porn. You might as well, put it out yourself.
God, I really thought very, very low of myself most of my life. And, the last 10 years on the internet just really, you've been ahead of the curve this entire time. There's a lot of sad, sick, fucked up people out there, and guess what? You're doing so good, buddy. You're doing so good. So
after my first Christian,
as it turns out, my life actually wasn't rock bottom, because I saw rock bottom, and so I got way more to go.
When I saw Boogie, I knew that. Okay, I knew I'm not that far yet.
Yeah. All right, then let's go ahead and close this up talking about Star Wars, because apparently Lucasfilms is going all in on Rey, the character that we all rejected 10 years ago, but they're deciding, you know what, let's give her even more movies and let's give her even more money. So this is a quick little thing from Screen Rant here. The whole big story here is that they bringing back Daisy Ridley to make a Jedi movie where apparently she's going to, in some way, shape, or form, take over the legacy from Luke Skywalker, which is exactly what Kathleen Kennedy wanted to do from the jump, make Rey the new Jedi hope leader person that everyone rejected. And we're still doing this anyway. So keep in mind, what was it? The Force Awakens came out, I believe 2014. That film did about $2.2 billion because everyone wanted to see what's going to be the next new Star Wars movie. And then they got it and it was like, oh, this sucks. Then we got The Last Jedi 3 years after that, and that one actually killed the entire franchise because they turned up the feminist propaganda in that film to 11 and everyone rejected it. So then instead of saying that, hey, we've committed a bad movie, we attacked our fan base for several years and said that anyone who doesn't like this movie is sexist. So then by the time that the third Star Wars film came out, it made $1 billion less than the first one that only got released 5 years before it. And here we are now. We're going to make another Star Wars movie in 2026. I know you guys can't wait for this film to come out here, but Star Wars New Jedi Order will see Daisy Ridley reprise her role as Rey Skywalker. Oh my god. That's yeah.
Rey the Plumber Skywalker.
Yeah, Rey. She identifies as Skywalker
Palpatine.
now. Many correct. Many of the transactions that viewers felt of the trilogy series committed. Like I said, they're essentially trying to fix their broken mess without actually admitting why it broke in the first place. Rise of Skywalker is considered one of the worst movies of the trilogy, even though honestly, Rise of Skywalker was still better than The Last Jedi. I mean, it wasn't good, but considering The Last Jedi, it was still better than that one, not by much. But this one's going to be a whole new move forward. There's even a possibility here that this is going to lead to Rey appearing in multiple Star Wars films. Daisy Ridley has reportedly signed on to, I think they signed on to like $12.5 million, which in all honesty is kind of low considering the fact that this is her fourth Star Wars movie and she's been like the front running star of like all of them. You think she would have made a little bit more money after run number 4, but this is all they're willing to pay at this point. But yeah, there's a whole slew of possibilities here. They're talking about maybe Rey is going to honor Luke by becoming a new Skywalker, and Luke's Jedi temple failed, but Rey can carry on his legacy, and that's pretty much what they're going to try to do here. It's like Rey can use Luke's knowledge to reform the Jedi, so she's going to resurrect the Jedi, which I'm pretty sure most of them will be women now, because you know we've never had women Jedi up until this very moment. And then of course they're talking about she can face her legacy of being a Palpatine, because she actually is a Palpatine, not a Skywalker. I think I shot this one over with Cider Tier 2, and Eddie, you can chime in here just for a second. It's like, I don't know why they didn't just go with the Rey's clearly a Palpatine and she's evil, and just have her be kind of like an anti-hero type of person where she kind of struggles between like good and light, not like in the Darth Vader like kind of way, but a little bit more embraces that, you know, she's not fully good and not fully evil either. I think that would have made her a more interesting character that people could have actually identified with. But I mean, like I said, we're dumb and we don't know what we're doing, so that's what we're gonna do. They're talking about bringing Finn back, but John Boyega has not said that he wanted to come back at any point in time. So I don't know why they thought this is gonna be a possibility. And it's like, hey, we can have Rey be a true Skywalker now, even though a lot of people booed when she said that line in the movie because she's clearly not a Skywalker. Here's the thing. They're going to triple down on Rey. They're going to triple down on feminist Star Wars. They're not going to learn their lesson until Lucasfilm is sold to literally anyone else. This is the future of Star Wars, whether you like it or not. And I'm pretty sure most people don't like it. So, Orange Chat, you're the Star Wars guru here. I'm going to go ahead and shoot this one over at you. What do you think about the fact that Disney is going all in on Rey, bringing her back for multiple films in the future, 2026, 2028?
This
Hello.
is their biggest mistake. Now, honestly, I'm going to. Yeah, honestly, I have no problem with Daisy Ridley. I have every problem with the character of Rey. I have often said I have no problem with the actor or the actress. I have every problem with the people who directed and wrote the actor and actress's part. When it comes to this Rey character, she wasn't done well, and yet you all seem to think Charmin obeyed Obama Chinoy Kukalaka. I don't know what the fuck your name is, but you seem to think that it's time for a woman to fucking do Star Wars. They put a fucking woman in Star Wars. Her name was Leia. She was all right. Then they tried putting another woman in Star Wars. Turned out she fucking sucked. And then they tried to put a bunch of different fucking women in Star Wars. Turned out there was a fucking period convention that nobody had any rags for. And then nobody liked it because, well, it was just too fucking horrifying. And yet you seem to think that this is the way to go. Now, you can call me sexist for that joke that I just said. I don't give a fuck. But when it comes to a franchise that I was 2 years old when I started getting involved in and enjoying it, I'm sorry. You are basically saying we don't give a fuck about the older fans. That's something that Kathleen Kennedy's been saying for a while. I get that, and I'm fine with it. But I'm telling you, you want the older fans back. What you did with Rise of Palpatine was a mistake. You tried to basically cater to everybody, and yet you disappointed you just ended up disappointing everybody because you didn't acknowledge the simple truth that is you can't please everybody. But what you should do is go back to pleasing the greater common denominator, where if you're doing that, you're going to get more money. When you bring in Ray, I'm sorry, you're going to lose money. And this might actually have another Solo box office failure proportions because Solo was the first Star Wars movie to ever lose money in the box office. And when you do, and Kathleen Kennedy was the main cause for that. But yet everybody seems to think, oh, she's going to be fired any minute now. Not before bringing back the Ray and not before trying to push bullshit lies. I have no problem with Daisy Ridley, but Daisy Ridley should fucking acknowledge we're going, or maybe we do need a better writer, or we need better writers, unless we want to continue pushing away fans. I'm sorry. The character of Rey is forever spoiled because of how they did episode 9. You can't fucking have a character fail their master's last lesson and say that it was a success. Her master's last lesson, don't be afraid of who you are. Okay, she's a Palpatine. Yet she's completely denying her heritage. Saying, oh, I can, or instead of saying, I can redeem this name that has been so evil throughout the galaxy, instead, no, I'm going to completely forsake it, and I'm going to steal this name that I have not in any way earned. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I have no interest in this Rey movie. Star Wars is, Disney Star Wars is, it's dead to me because honestly, it's like, you guys, you could show me the best fucking Star Wars movie that makes $3 billion for all I care, and I'm not gonna like it because honestly, you are morally and creatively bankrupt, and you have nothing to show for it except I'm a woman, she's a lesbian, that's a droid that's transsexual. You have to like us or you're bigoted. I'm sorry, I don't subscribe to that delusional behavior.
There's a reason why they haven't released a Star Wars movie in 5 years. Is because they killed the film-going audience and they can't release one. So they think that people are going to forget about everything that happened 10 years ago and go back and support this thing all over again. It ain't going to work.
Well, I thought that they hadn't released anything because they also had all those Disney Plus shows to fill in those gaps.
And even those are actually not doing as good as they're saying. I mean, they're saying, oh, we did, or we're getting all the views and whatnot. It's like, yeah, but then somebody fucking hacks your asses and freaking rats you out that you're actually doing a lot worse than what you're saying.
Well, my question with this Rey, to put the whole upcoming franchise on her is there enough interest in this character to have even one film, let alone 3? This is a major
4.
investment, or 4 or more, however many that they want to pop up. It's not just the name. I mean, Palpatine, Skywalker, I don't know. It's the character herself.
Go to Ollie's, you will find your answer.
How much do people really care to see the further adventures of Rey, Palpa Walker, whatever she wants to call herself nowadays? How much interest is there? Maybe if she joins forces with Rose Tico and they go off build their own Jedi Academy.
Hey, maybe they decide to go back to Space Monaco. Remember that one planet that was completely useless in The Last Jedi?
Yes, that will draw in more people. But jokes aside, is there enough interest to get more people to watch Rey as a character, to follow her? Because that's what you're building this whole new film series on. Her. You're building it on interest in her, on what she does, on whom she's going to mentor, and who she's going to bring into the Jedi Order. And you have to build up those characters. I mean, the first Star Wars, you didn't just have Luke. You had the interesting characters of Han and Leia and Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, and even the droids. all of those were interesting characters, and people latched onto them, and that's why it became that beloved franchise. I don't know if you can say that about Rey.
No, she's built up on a landfill. That's the problem.
I just want to say something here. I was a Star Wars fan growing up, pretty big one, but I do not understand the people who made these 3 new movies. I know we're going back to pre-2014 or whatever. If you were trying to follow up the original trilogy, why would you not just follow the Dark Empire timeline? Why would you? I mean, it's even the whole cloning the Emperor bullshit where you're like bringing him back or whatever. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. It's just like the Batman movie where they took the Long Halloween, they took Year One, they took all this great graphic hush material, and then they made a fucking turd out of it. And Orange Hat, to be fair, I don't know that much about it, but I know that it follows after Return of the Jedi, and at least it was a well-respected storyline from fans, of Star Wars. So.
No.
Okay.
The EU
Never mind that.
EU fans were very pissed. EU fans were very pissed off when they tried bringing back Palpatine. It's like, you completely are destroying Vader's sacrifice by doing it, and that was a major point of contention in the EU, or when the EU was out, or was in, rather.
I just can't get impressed by a Rey.
Yeah.
Like, the Adventures of Rey? Rey the Plumber Skywalker, Palpatine, whatever, is
Wait, Rey the Ghostbuster?
Yeah, Rey the Ghostbuster is going to be in a great movie, and this one stinks. I hope
Well, as I said, when I saw the first one, and was it Emo Vader? Emo Vader was like, "Oh, let me train you." I said to my friend Fidel, "Why? She's doing much better than you are. So why? She's already perfect." So
she already beat Kylo Ren in the first movie. And it's like,
Emo Vader.
You can't beat the final boss in the first stage. Like, it defeats the entire purpose.
I mean, the fucking, or what's his name even said it in the next movie. You were bested by a woman who had never held a lightsaber, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it's like, you fucking suck.
You better just call him bitch. That's pretty much what she did.
And then they fucking bounce force lightning off the floor at him, and it's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
The fuck is your ship made of?
The third one, was a slog. I don't think there was any real enthusiasm, and they felt they just had to complete it. Was it The Last Jedi? Is that the second or the third one? I don't
remember the third one.
Yeah, the third one is Palpatine.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Yeah. That one pretty much made too much of a mess for anyone to really pick up. And so with Rise of Skywalker, or Palpatine, or whatever she is, they had to try to cobble together the best that they could. I've always felt that they did the best that they could under the circumstances, but it was a slog. There was no enthusiasm. It felt like everyone was there because they were contractually obligated to, and they say, let's just get this over with. Now they're going to go and continue adventures for a character that...
Yeah, but see, the problem with those other films is that those were all done by male directors. We're going to get a female director this time. That should solve the problem.
And she should get nominated, because we need to have at least one woman every year nominated for Best Director.
And I like to piggyback on Orange Hat's joke about women. They had Commander Holdo drive that thing into the thing. They're even showing that women can't drive.
Yep.
But
like,
look,
Jesus Christ, woman, don't you know how to hit the brakes?
She literally committed like white woman jihad on the other ship, and it still didn't fail.
Oh gosh, I don't even remember.
It would have been perfect.
Is that the one with the purple hair? You see, I don't even remember these things.
Yep, that's her.
Ellie from fucking Jurassic Park decided to skip or to jump franchises and go Noble.
Yeah. Look, all I remember is just the idiocy of when they were going to drop the bombs, and they had to prank call
I
the
know.
other guy. I mean, that was just idiotic.
No, you guys are all blanking on the best part of the movie. They went to Space Monaco to find the guy who can lower the shields with the army they were fighting. They found some other guy, never found the guy who they were actually supposed to find, brought him back to the fight. Turns out he turned on him. And then you find out at that point, like 10 minutes later, it's like, oh, the entire second act of this film meant absolutely nothing. And we're going to have the battle somewhere else.
That's right. And they left the space orphans, but they saved the horses.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Very important.
It's some kid had the force. It's some kid was using the force to like sweep.
Right. He's literally doing
Oh
this
my
the
God,
whole
that
time.
fucking Ryan Johnson, man, when he's like, yeah, the force is, or if you believe enough, you can use the force. And then fucking George Lucas actually went along with it, even though he says he hates the fucking films. It's like, oh my God, dude. I want to literally.
I don't condone violence.
Fucking logs over there.
I don't condone violence on this podcast.
know,
but if
but
you see
still.
Ryan Johnson anywhere on the street, give him an RKO.
It's so,
Yeah.
and I've brought this up
Oh.
before, but Brick is still one of my absolute favorite movies from when I was a teenager, and that was his first movie, and it still holds up. It's a really good movie. What happened to Ryan Johnson is just one of the saddest things, because he is actually talented. He just chose to make a piece of shit.
He directed the episode. He directed the episode of Breaking Bad where
Well, he
Walter's doing
devoted
that
more
spot. Where Walter's doing the spot where he's looking up in the sky and going crazy, like the where he goes.
Fly?
Nuts. No, not the Fly. The one where he loses all the money. Spoiler alerts. But it's like the most perfect shot in the history of television. And it's a Ryan Johnson thing, and I was surprised. I was like, this guy actually has like real. He's
talent.
not a hack. He's not a hack like Zack Snyder.
I mean, he is, because he agreed to make The Last Jedi, and
Right, yeah. Well,
that's
he's a
what
hack.
resulted.
Business-wise, he's a hack.
Yeah.
Well,
But he's not Zack Snyder
in
fucking
his defense,
revamping
Ryan
everything,
Johnson.
What?
Well, no, in his defense, Ryan Johnson was too invested in Leghorn investigates. All right, that one of the turning points.
Please don't remind me of that
in
he did
the
Knives
film
Out.
mystery.
God, that's depressing.
Both of them.
And there, the other one was it called the Glass Onion? He did that too.
Yes,
which was even better.
I said
understand.
both of them. Like that was already implied.
They're different, Jacob.
It was just
Like the Star Wars is dead.
Yeah,
Let it die.
who's going to see this?
So,
it's
no, I mean they're going to
it's
parade
bizarre.
around because they have to.
Well, there's
They're going
also
to
What
do-
If Star Wars coming too.
Yeah.
Disney had to know. That's what gets me every time I go into this. It's like they had to know, because they would release projects that were like red meat Star Wars, like, oh, we're gonna give you another thing of Clone Wars, or Luke Skywalker's back. Aren't you happy? So it's like someone in the executive team or Lucasfilm understood what people want, but they gave Rey Skywalker instead, and then they made, and this is perhaps the bigger mistake, they decided they were going to take Star Wars, which is an event franchise, and just turn it into more content. Oh, here's another show. Just slap it out. Just put it out. Just doesn't matter what you do. Just slap it out there. And then they're surprised if people are like, oh, it's just another TV show. I'm okay.
You know what?
I'm good.
It was like Lord of the Rings. There's 5 years between the first one and the second Empire, and then another 3 years between Empire and Return. So
there was it was like 2 years between A New Hope, or 1 year between A New Hope and Empire, and like 2 or 3 between Empire and J.
I piggyback his joke, and then he fucking throws it in my face. What the hell's up with this?
I'm sorry, when you discuss
I mean,
the original trilogy, I want to be accurate.
Like a woman.
Yes, well, I mean, they squeezed in the holiday special between A New Hope and
Rick, I'm going to tell you to stop talking right now because we do not discuss that.
There it is.
Yeah. I'm just going to tell you to stop talking because we don't care.
It's canon.
Tobor.
It's canon.
This is Disney Star Wars in a nutshell.
There's been no one for so long. Who are you?
I'm Ray.
Not you. Not you.
Shut
Oh
up.
God. No. No.
Don't do it.
Please no. Please no. Where the fuck is Ben?
Ray Skywalker.
And
Oh,
then
these
there's
movies
the
are gonna
legacy of
age
Star Wars.
It reminds me of that kid that gets
I mean-
told that what's his name, Snape killed Dumbledore.
People want their tits to be like
I
the
mean,
prequels, like 10, 15 years from now. Kids are going to go back, oh, those were so great. It's not going to happen.
I mean,
Like,
that's probably
everyone's
my
gonna try to
like
pretend it
this
never
is why they're
happened at
doing it.
all.
Is like they're gonna make films that are so terrible. People will be like, the sequels weren't that bad. So
I mean, there was a
Well,
point
that's
when
what
I
they've
actually.
done with the prequels, with the first ones, where they thought they're trying to say, oh, they weren't so bad. No, they were bad.
They were bad.
They were bad.
I had a Darth Maul beach towel, by the way, that I loved when I was
Just
10
because
years
you made
old.
something,
Wow.
just because you made something significantly worse doesn't mean what you did before was actually good.
Hey,
I'll
Revenge
die
of the
on this
Sith
hill.
was
I
good.
like the prequels.
Hey, Revenge of
The
the Sith
prequels
was
have-
good.
Sorry.
the
You
prequels
like
have
Jar
some
Jar?
good ideas.
No, Revenge of the
I
Sith.
have defended
A lot
Jar
of
Jar.
good ideas.
Well, I think this
I
is a
have
good
defended
time.
Jar Jar.
I think this is a good time to go ahead and tap this one out and walk out here on the night. So
Misa gonna
yeah.
quit the show.
And on that note, I'm gonna pass this over to you guys. This is the time of the show where you guys promote anything that you guys have coming up here. Let's go ahead and start with our good buddy Eddie Brock here. What do you got coming up, my man?
What's up, everyone? Let's see. Well, I like to promote my site, phantompulse.com. Great site, a lot of media news, a lot of hype, and a lot of things having to do with TV, movies, comics, and all sorts of pop culture kind of things. What did we just release? We released a couple of things about movies. I wrote an article about Mortal Kombat 2 wrapping up. I can't wait actually for that. They said there's going to be more fatalities. They said there's going to be more stuff that's actual Mortal Kombat. Oh, it's good. I'm actually kind of hyped for it. And what else do we have? There's also, speaking of Star Wars and everything, there's also a couple of rumors that Hayden Christensen, after his big thing with Boy and the Heron, his big performance there, is going to start maybe be the voice of Shadow the Hedgehog for the upcoming Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie. So if you want to check those out, go to fandompulse.com. There's a bunch of other stuff you can check out there. Awesome time.
All right, Rob, what you got coming up?
Yeah, so I behind on my Beekeeper review, so I'm going to get that out, and then I'm just going to be compiling stuff that I find interesting over the next week or so. Pop culture stuff, movie stuff, and I'll probably do a Wednesday or Thursday show next week, and I'm just going to try to make it a regular thing, and then just do regular videos on reviews that I do. I'm going to write them up, but also do video reviews as well, just so it's just a different format. Maybe cover different aspects of the movie that I didn't cover in my written review. But so just keep an eye out for those on my Twitter there at the bottom of the screen. And yeah, I'm hopefully some good movies come out here, but I'm not holding out hope.
All right, Orange Hat.
Well, I am doing Versus Stream theme streams every Tuesday afternoon. I just got done doing Volcano versus Dante's Peak. Dante's Peak won out on that one. Next week, I'm doing Gladiator versus Braveheart to see which one is the better film. Also, on the 31st, I'm going to be live with Mara on my channel for a special singles to end out the Nick Cage New Year's with Face Off discussion. And other than that, I have yet to decide what my theme for February is going to be. It's not going to be cheesy ass romance. So I'm going to figure that out and get back to you. And otherwise, just check out my playlist. Still trying to get to 1,500 before my birthday on the 1st. So, yeah, if I can get some help with that, that's awesome. Thank you.
If not cheesy ass romance, it should be true romance. That's a great movie.
Oh, well, all I've got is I'll be watching the 3 Best Picture nominees that I have not seen, which would be American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, and The Zone of Interest. I should be watching those this week. I'll be having more reviews, and I might pop in a reaction and predictions for the upcoming Academy Awards. And yeah, that's pretty much it. More reviews as well. Thank you.
We're probably gonna have to do another live stream of the Oscars this year. That's gonna suck.
I'll have the beer ready.
So
I'll be watching the Ravens.
so even though I am fighting the war against the YouTube algorithm, I did hit over 9,000 subscribers finally.
Nice.
Yay.
And
It's over 9,000.
Yes. I started throughout this localization discourse. I actually started covering localization discourse that no one else is covering because, of course, Viz and Netflix decided to, well, in the case of Netflix, decided to trans a couple of characters up in One Piece, of course. But yeah, I covered them on my channel, and because, of course, YouTube's being a dick. I'm rallying my followers against them, so hopefully it does help. But yeah, other than that, I am covering manga and anime on my channel, and I'm raising hell on Twitter and writing, of course, content for Bounding on top of everything. So yes, I'm very exhausted.
I do want to point this out real quick. When I did the anime intro for the Barroom a few weeks ago, you're the only character who remotely looked like the person that's in that photo. So I just want to...
Oh my god!
Everyone else looked too Asian, ironically, except for Spencer.
Exactly. Johnson, what you got coming up?
Same as usual. Buy my books. So.
And short and sweet. And then, of course, this uninvited party crasher who won't go away, our good buddy Pete, is joining us. What do you got coming up, man?
Oh, it's just supporting satanic cartoons and
somebody has
furry culture. That's
damn Mormons.
I do Culturescape. That's my show on YouTube. I interview a lot of geek creators, influencers. We just had an interview with Mr. Chuck Dixon, which is always really cool. I respect him a lot. So getting to talk with him, getting to talk with people like him is it's just a treat. We have an upcoming interview with Adam B. Coleman, the writer, and then next week we have a crazy, surprising big guest. If we are able to land this fish, I think will surprise and interest everyone. And once again, thank you for letting me crash this party. It's a lot of fun.
All right. Let you guys know what we got coming up here on this channel. This Friday night, we're going to be watching Cleopatra Jones, 1973 film. Spent a lot of 70s movies on our wheel the last few weeks. We're getting our 70s movies kick. We did Car Wash last week, so this week's going to be Cleopatra Jones. It'll be a fun movie. This Saturday night, we're going to be doing a live stream for the Royal Rumble. So if you guys want, I know some of you guys are normies who only watch wrestling during Royal Rumble and WrestleMania times. So this would be a good time to check in. It's just going to be us for 3 to 4 hours talking about absolutely nothing, no script. It's just going to be us watching fake wrestling fights for a few hours. And that should be fun here in the channel. This Monday night, we're going to be talking about on the Bible Lens podcast, the folly of Christian nationalism. If you didn't watch our episode last night on anti-Semitism in Christianity, especially in the church, go check that out last night as well. And then next Tuesday night, we'll be back here, same time, same place. So thank you everyone for joining us here tonight. My lovely guests, my lovely friends joining us here for another show. To everyone who joined us in the chat on Rumble, on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and on YouTube, thank you very much. But we're going to go ahead and sign off and get out of here. We're hitting the outro. We're leaving. See you guys Friday night, Saturday night, Monday night, next Tuesday here on the show. Adios. Goodbye.
Bye.
It's over. Go home.
Get the hell out! Get out! Get out! Get out!
Okay.
Get out! Get out!
You get the hell out!
Never mind who you thought I was. I'm Rick James, bitch.